as well as there are the legal team as well who were present, because this is something a legal aspects that Uddhav Thackeray has been considering, because what also been mentioned by Shiv Sena MLA Sanjay Sirsat while speaking to Republic, what they have been saying that they have the option and they have been asked to give 3 symbols options to the Election Commission of India, that is by tomorrow, and they are going to do that. They are going to make a choice over the symbols and going to represent them before the ECI tomorrow. But if that has not been considered according to the will and their wish, so this is where the Supreme Court, they can move Supreme Court over the decision that has been taken. So all eyes on even tomorrow. There are the 2 teams who are going to go to Election Commission of India to give the decision that has been taken today, because it's an important meeting. That is a series of meetings that has been ongoing, because here on one hand at 2 p.m. where Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is going to meet his legal team and some of the senior leaders, but there are Uddhav Thackeray who is going to meet a district chief now. So here the decision that will be taken on our legal aspects as well, and what are the people, the Shiv Sainik that need to be happen, what are the options that need to be scrutiny from the symbols, the free symbols allocated by the Election Commission of India, that is going to be put forward before them tomorrow.
All right, Alicia, stay on with us. Sandeep is also with us on the broadcast. Sandeep, a quick recap of what is happening in the Shinde camp. Very important at this point, because Uddhav Thackeray is certainly going to address all his supporters on social media platforms, so we'll know what he's speaking. But how is the Shinde camp really prepping now?
See, as far as Eknath Shinde camp is concerned, as Alicia was in fact reporting from that spot, and in fact she also mentioned that Eknath Shinde and Sanjay Sirsat and all the leaders will be in a situation of wait and watch, and in fact they have they are also in fact thinking over the options of what kind of symbol will be given to Election Commission of India. On the other hand, Suesha, I'm right out here at Matoshree, wherein a meeting took place, and in fact Uddhav Thackeray, the leader of Shiv Sena, in fact who's leading the Uddhav faction and who claims that party belongs to him and a bow and arrow belongs to him. He is speaking to all the district president and all the party workers through video conferencing, and most likely that Uddhav Thackeray would be connecting to the people of Maharashtra through social media platforms, and in fact it will be very much important to see. It will be very much important to see what kind of briefing or what kind of things comes out from the video message that he will be giving to all the party workers as well as the people of Maharashtra. What Bhaskar Jadhav told us, Bhaskar Jadhav attended the same meeting that took place out here at Matoshree. Bhaskar Jadhav mentioned that Uddhav Thackeray has already made up his mind over the 3 options and the political symbols, although it will be revealed by Uddhav Thackeray himself. And he also mentioned that Election Commission didn't give time Uddhav faction to decide over the party symbol, to decide over their move, as it is Saturday and Sunday, as it is a weekend. And in fact, by tomorrow 12 p.m. Uddhav Thackeray faction will be making it clear that what kind of options or what kind of party symbol that they will be contesting elections in Vileparle constituency. There are possibility that Uddhav Thackeray may make an announcement in the press briefing, in the address that he will be addressing late in the evening. So Suesha, all eyes on the address of Uddhav Thackeray and the kind of things he will be stating in that social media messages that he will gonna take in the evening.
Absolutely, and Sandeep, we'd be tracking all these developments very, very closely, because Alicia, wanting to come back to you, this is extremely crucial in the minds of the people, because it is the Sena that holds a lot of credibility when it comes to the state of Maharashtra. And then again, going back to that statement of what Balasaheb Thackeray has built in all these years, from a movement that he started to how this became a party which was not just a party but a set of core values that it stands on. Now, who is the flag bearer of those values is really what this fight will decide. And then again, in the upcoming election, even if both these factions have to use different symbols, will the Shiv Sena on the whole, as an ideology, as a party, as a movement that it was, have a sense of confusion in the minds of people is really the big question. So we wait and watch what happens. But then again, how are these leaders going to deal with it when we are talking about Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray? Over to you, Alisha.
Well, yes, Suesha, as you rightly pointed out, this symbol is something ongoing since 1989. We know that Shiv Sena from the time of establishment, that is from the 1966, it was in the month of June, where Shiv Sena founder Bhaiasaheb Thackeray, who has established Shiv Sena in the state of Maharashtra, and that was for the people. But moreover, they were earlier when they have fought election with the different symbol, which also include cup and plate, and there are other sword and shield. This was the election. But a fixed symbol that was given to Shiv Sena, that was reserved for Shiv Sena, was the bow and arrow. And now that is something has been come into the question right after this is happening after 56 years. Because of the two groups that they have been claiming as the real Shiv Sena, where the election commission left with no option but given an interim order for the Andheri East by-poll elections, clearly reserved the symbol and the party name, and they have been asked to give a name for the party as well as the symbol, the three options that is to be given. Now, what we know from our sources that from the Uddhav Thackeray faction, that the decision that was taken, and specifically there was a discussion in the meeting with the legal team as well as from the senior leaders from the Uddhav Thackeray faction, that they have already looking for the three options, which also include a Trishul and as well as the rising sun, and there is one more that they have been looking. So moreover, they are going to even discuss, and that is something where Uddhav Thackeray is going to address the state today. He is going to address the state today via social media at 6 p.m. where we know that Uddhav Thackeray is going to give a decision, what the decision has been taken, whether it comes to the party name or whether it is a party symbol.
Alisha, in fact, the details that you're just putting out to our viewers, let's also quickly flash that on our screen, some source space information that is coming in on what Uddhav Thackeray's next move may really be. And yes, in today's meeting, Uddhav Thackeray faction discussed the symbol issue, where they are now looking out at possible options, which could be the torch or the Trishul or a rising sun as their symbol. So, Alisha, I quickly want to come back to you exactly to what you were saying and those details flashing on our screens. Like you said that the bow and arrow symbol was fixed in 1989. And before that, whenever the elections were contested, there were different symbols that were used. Now again, the Thackeray faction really keeping aside the possible options, knowing that this could be a long legal battle, and considering the torch or the Trishul or the rising sun. What's the thought also really behind this?
Well, Suesha, the legal experts, if we see, they are just considering tomorrow what the election commission really gives them this free symbol. We know that they have been asked to furnish the free allotted symbol that is allotted by the election commission of India, and where it comes the Uddhav Thackeray faction, who has already decided and been deciding over the three symbols, that is Trishul, Mashal, that is a torch, and a rising sun, that is a Ukta Suraj, is what we have been told by our sources that was present in the meeting. So this is the three options that they have been considering to. But yes, we will also wait for Uddhav Thackeray to make it official, because we heard before the meeting from every leader from the Uddhav Thackeray faction clearly mentioning our leader, our symbol is Uddhav Bhaiasaheb Thackeray. But it is upon the Uddhav Thackeray that is going to take a decision over the party name and the party symbol. So let's see what is the decision that has been taken by Uddhav Thackeray, because at this point of time where he's been meeting a district chief, so of course there is a message that that has need to be conveyed to the Shiv Sainik who is in support of Uddhav Thackeray. But an important meeting that is also going to be held at 2 p.m. in Varsha, Bangalore, where the Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is also going to meet a legal team. What has what has transpired and what has been a decision that is going to be taken in the 7 p.m. meeting is something is going to be come forward tomorrow before the Election Commission of India. Because while speaking to Republic, where the Sanjay Sirsat has clearly mentioned that it is an option, we don't have any other option, but has to give 3 symbol options to the Election Commission of India. But even if that goes against us, we also have a Supreme Court option. We will also move a Supreme Court if required. But that has to be seen that tomorrow day will be important. But yes, there is series of meeting. Now where the Uddhav Thackeray has been meeting a district chief at 6 p.m. is going to address the state via social media. But on the other hand, there is a Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is going to meet his legal team, as well as at 7 p.m. where all the MLAs and MP from the Shinde faction who is going to hold a meeting, an important meeting, and thereafter we can expect some of the decision that will be taken from the Shinde camp.
Right. Alicia, let me quickly bring in Sandeep also on this to throw more light on the possible options now. So Sandeep, in a scenario that either camps are not allowed to use the bow and arrow symbol, which is the case as is, and the party name also, then does that mean that different party names, different symbols for either factions will be used? And then again, in that scenario, the Shiv Sena per se could be dissolved completely. Like, what are the possible scenarios at this point?
See, Suvesha, it will be very much interesting to see what will happen. But at this point of time, what we are learning is that, yes, they are looking out for some kind of option. But that does not remain for permanent. Remember, this order is an interim order at this point of time by Election Commission of India. So this is to just contest the election here in by-election, in fact, here in Vile-Parle East constituency. Now, once this election is over, there are possibility that Election Commission may call out for both the faction in order to prove on ground over the bow and arrow symbol. Now, remember, all the office bearers are with office bearer of Shiv Sena, including small ward level officers, ward level leaders or district level leaders. All of them who are on record are with Eknath Shinde, in fact, from top to bottom. Now, on the other hand, Uddhav faction have few selected office bearers, but that does not mean that Uddhav Thackeray will have the majority to prove out there in Election Commission of India. So basically, at this point of time, 70% of Shiv Sena is shifted with Eknath Shinde faction. So these all are the arguments that could take place with the Election Commission of India, but that comes after after the by-election takes place, and in fact in future this could be a part of argument or part of discussion between both the factions. But as of now,
yes,
the tussle is to prove themselves in the upcoming by-elections.
Yes, absolutely. And Sandeep, we are going to keep a very close eye on whatever happens, and the leader that, I beg your pardon, the move that each leader makes in this fight of Sena versus Sena. For the moment, Alicia and Sandeep, thank you for joining us. We'll keep coming back to you as we move into the evening.
Modi government's mega J&K outreach program will be beginning tomorrow with Union Minister Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti visiting the North Kashmir's Baramulla district. This is the third edition of the mega outreach program, the first edition of which was in January 2020, in which 36 union ministers visited the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and later submitted the report to the Ministry of Home Affairs as well as the Prime Minister's office about the developmental projects that are going on in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The second edition was in September-October 2021, in which over 70 ministers visited the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And now the third edition is being kicked off tomorrow with the arrival of Sadhvi Niranjan to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Top ministers including Raksha Mantri, Finance Minister and Highways Minister will also be visiting various districts of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir as part of mega outreach program. With Sir Jeevan Kumar, Gursimran Singh for Public Media Network.
Stepping into a very short commercial break. On the other side, we get you details of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Gujarat today, where he will declare Modera village as India's first ever solar-powered village.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from
direction. We broke into a dialogue with the Secretary General, managed to convince them that this being the 75th year of our independence, it is in the fitness of things that we host this event, and that is how it was unanimously accepted.
IC-814, the flight that was hijacked, and then of course the famous match fixing, and then of course Bofors. We were able to get first the Switzerland's cooperation, then the Malaysian government's cooperation. So all this would not have been possible without our seeking the assistance of the Interpol.
The assets which are stashed away, which are taken away as dirty money, and they are stashed away, and for the recovery of that, there is an initiative which India, CBI and Interpol has been jointly taking against organized crime, particularly the one which has been funding terrorism.
top headlines at 2:30. Hectic parleys after EC's interim order. Both Shinde and Uddhav faction in a huddle. Uddhav camp's meeting underway. Shinde faction meet to take place shortly with legal team and second meeting later at 7 p.m.
तो उम्र का असर है और अकेले पड़ जाने की जो घबराहट है, इस वजह से कुछ बोल रहे हैं.
After Nitish denies Kishor's statement, Kishor hits back with ages catching up with Nitish jibe. Prime Minister Modi to visit Gujarat today to declare Modera village as India's first ever solar-powered village. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on a 3-day visit to Northeast. On day 3, multiple events lined up. Thanks for tuning in this Sunday afternoon. We are live and breaking. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Straight up, starting with a big story coming in from Bihar, where a war of words between Nitish Kumar and Prashant Kishor has escalated. Prashant Kishor has now responded to Nitish Kumar's statement, saying, and I quote, that age is catching up with him and that's why he is making such unwarranted and false remarks. Listen in.
मदद कर रहा है और उन लोगों के साथ है, बढ़िया है, बेचारे को वहाँ भी जगह मिल जाए केंद्र से भी, ठीक है।
मतलब साफ करा कि वो बीजेपी के साथ मिले हुए, यही बात ना।
हाँ, ये उसी का काम है, कर रहा है वो भीतर से। हम लोगों का विरोध, इनका विरोध काहे के लिए कर रहा है?
नीतीश जी पर अब धीरे धीरे उम्र का असर दिखने लगा है। उनके वक्तव्यों में, उनके कार्यकलापों में वो बोलना कुछ शुरू करते हैं, बोल कुछ जाते हैं। अब आप ही देखिए, उन्होंने कहा कि मैं भाजपा के एजेंडे पर काम कर रहा हूं और उसी के साथ ये भी कह दिया कि मैंने उनको कहा कि आप कांग्रेस में अपने दल का विलय कर दें। दोनों बात तो कैसे संभव है?
This, of course, comes after Nitish Kumar, the Bihar Chief Minister, said that he had not given any offer to Prashant Kishor and that Prashant had come to meet Nitish Kumar on his own and that Prashant Kishor was not invited by Nitish Kumar. So that was the remark that was made by Nitish Kumar. Questions now arising as to did Nitish Kumar give that offer to Prashant Kishor to lead his party and be the inheritor? Prashant Kishor, of course, taking a jibe at Nitish Kumar, taking a jibe and saying that age is catching up with Nitish Kumar, which is why he's making such unwarranted and false remarks. We also have Sushil Modi's soundbite who's responded to the war of words that has erupted between the duo. Let's listen in.
पहले क्यों मिले आप उनसे? 1.5 घंटा क्या बातचीत हुई? देखिए, 2014 के बाद इस देश में करीब 10 राज्यों के विधानसभा चुनाव हुए होंगे, जिसमें प्रशांत किशोर ने बीजेपी के खिलाफ विपक्ष की गोलबंदी का काम किया और विपक्ष के लिए काम किया। जो बंगाल का चुनाव हो, चाहे तेलंगाना का चुनाव हो या यूपी का चुनाव हो, 10 राज्यों में उसने बीजेपी के विरोध में काम किया। तो जो व्यक्ति 2014 के बाद 10 राज्यों में बीजेपी के विरोध में काम करता है, वो बीजेपी का एजेंट हो गया। 2015 में जो बिहार में महागठबंधन की सरकार बनी, उसमें प्रशांत किशोर की बड़ी भूमिका थी। आपके रणनीतिकार थे, वो बीजेपी के एजेंट को अपने घर में क्यों रखा आपने? आप ही के मकान में रहता था, रोज़ सुबह नाश्ता करते थे साथ में, और अब करें कि बीजेपी का एजेंट हो गया। क्योंकि प्रशांत किशोर ने कह दिया कि फेविकॉल के ब्रांड एम्बेसडर नीतीश कुमार हो सकते हैं, या कल तेजस्वी यादव के 9वीं कक्षा वाला जो स्टेटमेंट दिया, उसी से बौखला कर नीतीश कुमार इस तरह की बातें बोल रहे हैं। प्रशांत किशोर का बीजेपी से कोई दूर दूर तक कोई रिश्ता, कोई संबंध नहीं है।
So, Sushil Modi also responding to the war of words which has escalated, the war of words that has erupted between Nitish Kumar and Prashant Kishor. Prashant Kishor there taking pot shots at the Bihar Chief Minister, saying that how age is catching up with Nitish Kumar, which is why he's making such remarks. This, of course, comes after Nitish Kumar denied having made any offer to Prashant Kishor to join the JDU and to lead his party and be the inheritor. And this, of course, after Prashant Kishor had earlier stated that he was offered by Nitish Kumar to lead the party and be Nitish Kumar's inheritor. We'll go across to Prakash as well to get his insights, but the political slugfest that has now erupted in Bihar, and this one over the war of words with respect to Prashant, to the offer that allegedly was made to Prashant Kishor by Nitish Kumar to join the party and be the inheritor of Nitish Kumar. Nitish Kumar, remember, has stated that he has not made any such offer and that Prashant Kishor is working on BJP's behest. That's the allegation that has been made by Nitish Kumar against Prashant Kishor, saying that Prashant Kishor, the latter, is working at the behest of the BJP, and that also going on to say that 5 years ago he had suggested, Prashant Kishor had suggested Nitish Kumar to merge JDU with the Congress, which Nitish Kumar had turned down. A quick roundup of all that's making news from across the country. A group of hostel girls of the Social Welfare Department in Jaipur went on a strike as miscreants misbehaved with them. The girl gang had blocked the road even amid heavy rainfall as some tramps and miscreants misbehaved with one of the girls from the hostel. Sharad Pawar, while responding to the Sena symbols being frozen, stated that he was not surprised by the decision, with the NCP chief further stating that the Shiv Sena did not have any option but to face the Andheri bipoles with the new symbols. Shiv Sena Rajya Sabha MP from the Uddhav camp, Priyanka Chaturvedi, on the legacy war has stated that the Shiv Sena would fight till the finish and win the Andheri bipoles regardless of the party symbol being withheld.
किया गया है और आप इलेक्शन कमीशन का इतिहास देख लीजिए, पोल सिंबल फ्रीज हो जाता है, पार्टी सिंबल फ्रीज हो जाता है डिस्प्यूट के चलते, पर पार्टी का नाम ही आप फ्रीज कर देंगे, ये पहली बार सुना है मैंने। तो पर हम लोग सब शिव सैनिक इस निर्णय के बाद हम लोग और भी ज़्यादा हमने निर्णय लिया है कि ऐसे लोगों को जो सेंट्रल एजेंसीज़ का इस्तेमाल कर सेंट्रल पावर का इस्तेमाल कर धनबल का इस्तेमाल कर इस तरीके का काम कर रहे हैं, कृत कर रहे हैं, पाप कर रहे हैं, उनको सबक सिखाना।
NCP spokesperson Mahesh Tapse also responded to the party's symbol being withheld, with him stating that the people of Maharashtra were with the Uddhav faction even if the symbol was withheld, further stating that the MVA would win the Andheri bipoles.
चुनाव आयोग ने इस प्रकार का फैसला लिया, चुनाव चिन्ह धनुष्य बाण को स्थगित किया, लेकिन महाराष्ट्र की जनता इस वक्त उद्धव ठाकरे जी के साथ है। चुनाव चिन्ह को स्थगित करने के बावजूद भी अंधेरी की बाई इलेक्शन के अंदर महाविकास आघाड़ी के उम्मीदवार का विजय होगा।
A war of words has broken out between Nitish Kumar and Prashant Kishor, with the political strategist taking potshots at the Bihar Chief Minister, saying that he was indeed offered by Nitish Kumar to join the party and be his inheritor. This, of course, comes after Nitish Kumar alleged that Kishor had offered a merger between the Congress and the JDU.
ये उम्र का असर है। अंग्रेजी में वर्ड जो है थोड़ा डिल्यूजनल हो गए हैं, घबराहट भी है और कहीं ना कहीं राजनीतिक तौर पे अकेले पड़ गए हैं, ऐसे लोगों से घिर गए हैं जिन पर उनका खुद का विश्वास नहीं है। इसी घबराहट में कुछ से कुछ बोल दे रहे हैं, तो उम्र का असर है और अकेले पड़ जाने की जो घबराहट है, इस वजह से कुछ बोल रहे हैं।
5 people died while 2 others were injured due to an electrocution incident that happened during a procession in UP's Bahraich district. The electrocution took place after the victims came in contact with high tension wires. AIMIM chief Owaisi hit out at the BJP at a public event, stating that it felt like Muslims were living in an open jail. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi resumed the Karnataka leg of the Bharat Jodo Yatra from the district of Tiptur at Tumkur in Karnataka, marking the 32nd day of the journey. Rahul Gandhi, along with 40 state Congress committee delegates who are part of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, are expected to cast their vote for the party presidential election at the campsite, as a special booth will be established for them to take part in the polls. BJP is planning to conduct 40 rallies across 144 Lok Sabha seats if lost in the 2019. Prime Minister Modi is all set to hold one rally in every cluster. And news coming in from the national capital where miscreants opened fire at a shop in Delhi's Bhavana in broad daylight. The firing occurred over extortion that was demanded by the miscreants.
In a video that has been accessed by Republic TV exclusively, it can clearly be seen that two men with their face covered reach this particular general store in the Bhavana area of the national capital and open fire in front of the shop. The man in the red shirt can be seen opening fire twice in front of the shop. The police are investigating the matter. The prima facie investigation has revealed that it is a matter of extortion and rupees 50 lakh have been demanded by the shop owner where this particular incident has been registered. The police are investigating the matter to make sure whether it is a matter of personal enmity or it is if there is a gang involved or it's a one-man job. They are looking for clues to nab these two men who came brazenly and opened fire in daylight in Bhavana area of the national capital. This is Madhurima Mishra with Vijay Surinder Shah for Republic TV.
A very short break. On the other side, we'll get you live coverage from Gujarat as Prime Minister is all set to visit the state. Will declare Modera village as India's first ever solar-powered village.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. The world is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift.
And a big update coming in on the Sena versus Sena battle. As per sources in today's meet that was chaired by Uddhav Thackeray, discussions were held regarding the symbol name as well as a possible party names. We're now getting to know that the three options that the Uddhav Thackeray faction is looking at are Torch, Trishul and the Rising Sun. So three symbols that were discussed and could be decided when it comes to taking that final decision on the symbol for the Uddhav faction camp. The possible party names are also being discussed, which are Shiv Sena Balasaheb Thackeray, Shiv Sena Prabodhankar Thackeray, Shiv Sena Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray. These are the possible names that are also being discussed and mulled over by the Uddhav Thackeray camp. So three symbols that are being discussed and mulled over are Torch, Trishul and the Rising Sun. And the possible party names that are also being discussed are Shiv Sena Balasaheb Thackeray, Shiv Sena Prabodhankar Thackeray and Shiv Sena Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray. Remember, Uddhav Thackeray is all set to address this evening as well at 6 p.m. Three party names, we are told, are under discussion, consideration. The discussion was held regarding the symbol and party name in this meet that was held by Uddhav Thackeray. So back-to-back meetings that are lined up through the day. Remember, Shinde faction will also be holding a meet at 7 p.m. So remains to be seen what comes out of these meetings, but hectic parleys there ahead of Andheri bypolls as the EC in its interim order has stated that the Sena symbol will be frozen and neither of the two sides can use the symbol. Alicia is also joining us live. Alicia, if you could give us more updates, what sources are telling you about this meet that was chaired by Uddhav Thackeray?
Well, yes, it's from a top Shiv Sena leader from Uddhav Thackeray camp has informed us that there are the possibility symbols that will be torch, that is a mashal, one is a trishul and one is a rising sun, that is an Ukta Suraj, is what they have been considering into. And moreover, they have to even decide over the party name, which they have decided the three possible names that are Shiv Sena Balasaheb Thackeray, Shiv Sena Prabodhankar Thackeray, who is a father of Balasaheb Thackeray. So the party name they have been considering into the name of grandfather of Uddhav Thackeray. And the third name, the possibility is Shiv Sena Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray. So these are the three names that Uddhav Thackeray has been considering into. Well, yes, we'll wait for the event 6 p.m. where Uddhav Thackeray itself is going to address the state via social media, via his Facebook and the other social media. He's going to address the state and
also,
going to
Alicia, just hold your thoughts for a moment. Please just stay with us. More breaking updates coming in that the Shinde camp's meet is underway as we speak. So, Alicia, while we understand that Uddhav Thackeray is considering these three symbols when it comes to deciding on the party name and the symbol, anything you're learning with regard to us, what could be the possible symbols and party names that could be discussed in this meet being chaired by CM Shinde?
That is something, a decision that has been taken, and right now the discussion is still underway with the legal team, and the Shiv Sena senior leader from the Eknath Shinde faction is underway in Varsha Bungalow where I am reporting from. What we know that Deepak Kesarkar, Uday Samant and the other senior leaders who have been present in the meeting, they have been deciding, because here comes the Uddhav Thackeray faction. They have already made a official to many of the media persons that these are the possibly symbols and the possibly name. So they have to think apart from that, from the free symbol that has been allocated by Election Commission of India, which is where the legal team has also been present in the same meeting that has been underway at Varsha Bungalow, that is an official bungalow of a Chief Minister, where Chief Minister itself, Deepak Kesarkar, as well as Uday Samant and the senior leaders are present. We'll even wait whether Deepak Kesarkar, who is a press conference, was scheduled for 2 p.m. but he has been asked to come for the meeting. Now, after that, he is going to speak to the media. what can be the reason and what are the discussion that has been taken place in the meeting that took place in Varsha Bungalow by Chief Minister.
Yes. Alisha, stay with us. Also, if I can get your quick perspective on the by-polls also that are set to take place. How much of the change in name of the Sena is going to impact the vote bank when it comes to that voting that will take place for both the factions?
Well, Samisha, it's very interesting to know because for the Andheri East by-poll election, which is scheduled on 3rd of November, and the Monday is something a last day for the nomination that is to be filed. It will be from the Uddhav Thackeray faction that is the candidate is going to be chosen and is going to be put forward for the same by-elections. But when it comes to the Eknath Shinde and the Bharatiya Janata Party, it is the BJP candidate that is going to file a nomination for the Andheri East by-poll elections. But yet, the application that was given by Eknath Shinde, they clearly mention to Election Commission of India that bow and arrow symbol is something been misused by Uddhav Thackeray, which is why they have the majority and they should be given the bow and arrow symbol. They should be allotted with the bow and arrow symbol. But right after that, the drama that has come forward where Election Commission has clearly decided that neither Eknath Shinde faction or the Uddhav Thackeray faction will be permitted to use bow and arrow symbol for the upcoming Andheri by-poll election. So here they are going to take a decision. Well, it's really not really impacted to the Shinde group because it's a BJP candidate who is going to contest elections for the by-poll elections. But it will really impact Uddhav Thackeray, and that decision needs to be taken because since 1989 it's a bow and arrow symbol that has been reserved for Shiv Sena, fixed for Shiv Sena. It's been 56 years, but this has now been changing after 56 years. So it some of the either way may impact Uddhav Thackeray because it's their candidate who is going to contest elections. We know that NCP and Congress has already extended the support to Uddhav Thackera's candidate. But what the decision will come out is really very interesting to see because it's also from the Shinde camp what really they are going to come up with the symbols, because after which there could
भास्कर जाधव बोलून गेलेत ना परत काय वेगळं बस आतमध्ये जाऊ दे साहेबांना पुढे घ्या पहली बात ऐसी है कि अरे तो हिंदी उच्चारण पहली बात ऐसी है कि चुनाव आयोग ने जो हमारी परसों बात हुई थी तो 7 तारीख को हम लोगों ने 4 बजे उनको सारे कागजात दे दिए थे। उनके आपस में संवाद अच्छी ठीक नहीं थे, इसके लिए उनको पता ही नहीं चला कि हमने दे दिए। बाद में उन्होंने कल 8 तारीख को दोपहर 2 बजे तक की बात की। अब सुनवाई कुछ भी नहीं हुई, निर्णय ले गया और निर्णय लेकर उन्होंने हमारा जो चुनाव चिन्ह है उसको फ्रीज कर दिया। अब रही बात, उन्होंने कहा कि कल वापस 2 बजे तक जो भी आपको पर्याप्त चुनाव चिन्ह देने हैं, तो आदरणीय पक्ष प्रमुख उद्धव जी ठाकरे साहब ने 3 चुनाव चिन्ह दिए। उसमें से पहला है त्रिशूल, दूसरा है हमारा मशाल और तीसरा है उगता हुआ सूरज। तो ये सारे 3 चुनाव चिन्ह हमने उनके पास पर्याय करके दिए हैं। उसमें से अभी चुनाव चिन्ह देने का काम हमारा चुनाव आयोग करेगा, उसके बाद में जो कुछ होगा वो आपको पता चलेगा। नया नाम ऐसी बात ऐसी कि शिवसेना नाम है हमारा, वो तो उसमें नाम में अगर कुछ बात कहेंगे तो है बाला साहब ठाकरे जी है, बाला साहब प्रबोधनकार ठाकरे जी है, फिर है हमारे उद्धव बाला साहब ठाकरे जी है। ये सब सारे नाम शिवसेना के साथ में जुड़कर हम बोलेंगे, उनमें से कोई भी एक नाम हमें दे तो हम चलेगा। मला वाटतं या संदर्भामध्ये आदरणीय पक्षप्रमुख उद्धवजी ठाकरे साहेबांनी काल रात्री पत्र दिलेलं आहे। त्या पत्रामध्ये शिवसेना पक्षानं खरं तर हा सगळा प्रकार जो सुरू आहे तो बेकायदेशीर आहे। एक नवीन वेठबिगार संस्था तयार झाली की तिनं त्या ताबडतोब निर्णय घेतला। त्या निर्णय
And Alisha is standing by for more breaking updates. Alisha, take us to all the breaking updates you are picking up.
Well, that is Shiv Sena MP Arvind Sawant, who has confirmed Republican Newsbreak over the symbol that has been decided in a meeting that was held with Uddhav Thackeray, with his MPs and MLAs and all the senior leaders from the Uddhav Thackeray camp, which says that there are the three symbols that has been discussed and that is going to put forward before the Election Commission of India tomorrow. The three symbols is torch, that is mashal, second is a trishul, and third is a rising sun, that is an Ukta Suraj. Moreover, the name, the party name that has also been discussed and confirmed by Arvind Sawant, who was present in the meeting, who says that it will be Shiv Sena Bhasab Thackeray, Shiv Sena Prabodhankar Thackeray, and Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray, Uddhav Bhasab Thackeray. So this is the news that has been confirmed by Arvind Sawant, the Republican Newsbreak that has been confirmed by Shiv Sena, and all eyes on the meeting that is going to take place at 7 p.m. where Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is going to meet MLAs and MP. Continuously rolling on this big story. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular...
Hectic parleys after Election Commission's interim order both Shinde and Uddhav faction in a huddle. Uddhav camp's meeting underway. Shinde faction to meet at 2 p.m. with legal team, and second meeting is later at 7 p.m.
उम्र का असर है और अकेले पड़ जाने की जो घबराहट है, इस वजह से कुछ बोल रहे हैं.
after Nitish denies Kishor's statement, Kishor hits back with ages catching up with Nitish, unquote Jai. Prime Minister Modi will visit Gujarat today to declare Modera village as India's first ever solar powered village. Union Home Minister Amit Shah is on a 3-day visit to Northeast. On day 2, multiple events are lined up. Very good afternoon. You're watching the news at 3 p.m. I'm Suesha Sawant. Our focus this Sunday afternoon is also on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, as he's all set for the next 3 days to be in the pole-bound state of Gujarat. He will be inaugurating development projects worth over 14,500 crore rupees across the state of Gujarat. On the 9th of October at 5:30 p.m, Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple projects at Modera in Mehsana. On the 10th of October around 11 a.m. is when Prime Minister will be launching various projects at Amod in Bharuch. And at 3:15 p.m, he will inaugurate the Modi Shaikshanik Sankul in Ahmedabad. At 5:30 p.m, the Prime Minister will also dedicate and lay the foundation stone of projects at Jamnagar. Cutting across to my colleague Priyanka, who's live with us on the broadcast. Priyanka, lots that is lined up for the next 3 days. At 3:15 also now, in about 15 minutes, is when Prime Minister Modi is to inaugurate an educational complex. Give us details. Alright, we'll try and reconnect that line with Priyanka, who's tracking every single movement of the Prime Minister very closely in the pole-bound state of Gujarat. Lots that is lined up in the next 3 days as far as the inauguration of several development projects by the Prime Minister are concerned, and it is all our focus for the BJP in the state of Gujarat, which is set to face polls in the end of the year, that is in the month of December. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to launch development projects worth 14,500 crore rupees during this visit, which is set to last from the 9th to the 11th of October. Followed by that, he will be in Madhya Pradesh on the 11th of October. And this, of course, as the BJP is prepping for the polls in Gujarat set to happen by the end of this year. During this visit, Prime Minister will also be inaugurating and laying the foundation stones of multiple projects at Modera and Mehsana, which is set to happen today itself. So much so that Modera will also be declared as India's first 24/7 solar-powered village. And the project realizes Prime Minister Modi's vision of solarization of Sun Temple town of Modera. The project that involved developing a ground-mounted solar power plant and more than 1,300 rooftop solar systems on residential and government buildings, all integrated with a battery energy storage system. So this primarily means that with this project, people will be able to save as much as 60 to 100% in electricity bills, and the Gujarat government is also slowly moving towards how the use of solar power has increased prosperity amongst citizens. And they've also stated that power bills that were above 1,000 rupees have almost reduced to zero today. So development, all in all, is the agenda of the BJP in the state of Gujarat. Priyanka, I'm being told you are reconnected with us as we track every movement of the Prime Minister very closely. In about 15 minutes from now, he is set to begin with the inauguration of an educational complex. If you can hear me, throw more light on what's happening. All right, Priyanka may be facing trouble there in terms of the audio line, as a lot of crowds have gathered to be able to catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister and most importantly be a part of this development project. This is an educational complex that is to be launched by the Prime Minister in Ahmedabad, where he is currently, and in about 10 minutes from now is when the inauguration will begin. We are also to find out from Priyanka when he is likely to address the crowds, but a lot of preparation that is happening at this point. 9th to the 11th of October is when the Prime Minister will be in Gujarat, and several development projects that he is focusing on, it will be inaugurated by him in the next 3 days. Now, as I was mentioning, apart from Modera, the other projects he will launch at Amod in Bharuch, Ahmedabad and Jamnagar, and he will also be travelling to the Sri Mahakaleshwar temple in Ujjain. This will also be followed by the inauguration of Mahakal Lok, which will provide modern amenities to pilgrims visiting the Mahakaleshwar temple in Madhya Pradesh. That is on the 11th of October. And in fact, while referring to Mahakal Lok, the PMO also saying that the first phase of the project would help enrich the experience of pilgrims who are visiting the temple to provide them with world-class modern amenities. So, like you see, the Prime Minister geared up to launch a slew of projects that have been in the making all these years. And talking about the Mahakaleshwar temple, where the temple precinct will be expanded nearly 7 times. So the total cost of the entire project is around 850 crores, as is being informed by the PMO. The existing footfall of the temple, which is currently around 1.5 crore a year, is expected to double. And Prime Minister will also be dedicating to the nation and lay the foundation stone of projects worth over 8,000 crore rupees in Amod, Bharuch, including the foundation stone of a dedicated bulk drugs park in Jamsur. So all in all, in 2021-22, that is the financial year where bulk drugs accounted for over 60% of the pharmaceutical imports, the project will play a key role in ensuring import substitution and help in making India self-reliant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Gujarat for the next 3 days, and this evening he will be in Modera, which will also be announced as India's first solar-powered village. There will be a light and sound show that has been organized for the Prime Minister. He will be inaugurating and laying the foundation stones of multiple projects in Modera on this day itself. This, of course, as a grand event is planned in Modera this evening, when it comes to that village in Modera being declared as India's first 24/7 solar-powered village. And just in a short while from now, as we are trying to reconnect that line with Priyanka, at about 3:15 p.m. is when the Prime Minister is set to inaugurate an educational institution. So that is certainly what is going to happen in a couple of minutes from now. We are also hoping to cut across to the Prime Minister when he addresses the crowds. And all in all, it is a visit where he is to launch development projects worth 14,500 crore rupees during his visit to Gujarat, which is set to last for the next 3 days, including Sunday, that is today, where he will be in Modera all day. So there you see, any minute now we'll try and cut across to the Prime Minister in that rousing welcome that he received in Gujarat today. And of course the BJP preparing in the state of Gujarat, which is set to face polls by the end of this year, and a slew of development projects that will be launched by the Prime Minister in the next 3 days. So their entire breakdown of what the Prime Minister's schedule is going to be like during his visit in Gujarat, where it is an action-packed schedule He is set to inaugurate a lot of development projects to the tune of 14,500 crore rupees in the state. And today is when you will be seeing a lot from Modera, as he will be inaugurating an educational institution, an educational complex to be precise. We are trying to get more details from Priyanka on this, on the capacity of this educational institution, of how many students it will be able to accommodate, the scale and the educational facilities that will be provided at this educational institution, and whether it really matches up to the education standards to also bring students from across the country and the globe. Priyanka, I believe you're back with us. I understand you're facing a lot of trouble when it comes to the network there because of the jammers installed, but I believe that in a few minutes from now, Prime Minister will be inaugurating an educational complex that holds prime importance in terms of the kind of facilities that are provided and what all is lined up when it comes to the development projects he is set to inaugurate this evening. Of course, that light and sound show in Modera and India's first solar powered village is also the message that he wants to send out to the entire country, so the other states also feel more inspired. What more can you tell us, Priyanka?
Well, yes, Suresh, as you mentioned, there were some network issues, but we did see that the Prime Minister, in fact, is going to start his 3-day visit to his home state of Gujarat, starting with Modera. In fact, we are standing right now here in the Modera town as well, where Modera, that is going to be declared as a 100% electrified village, the first village of the country that is 100% electrified with the use of solar energy. And that is going to be declared by the Prime Minister. Along with that, he is going to be inaugurating that solar power plant as well that has about 30 to 35,000 units of energy generation every day, along with a battery storage unit, which helps in the electrification of the villages, not just of Modera, but nearby villages as well. And those will be electrified fully with the use of solar power. So that, of course, is a pet project of the Prime Minister, and he had talked about this during the time of his tenure as the Chief Minister of Gujarat as well. And now we see that this entire project is going to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister today and will be declared to the nation as well. Apart from that, he has always, time and time again, focused on the use of solar energy, and now we see that the beneficiaries of the villages as well. In the phase 1 of the project that had been given, about 271 houses that had been given these solar rooftop installations are now telling us that there is a 100% cost reduction, and there is of course energy generation that is done in the solar power plant that helps not just the villages but also the industrial areas as well that are expected to be developed in and around this area as well. Now, that being said, that is the entire program for today, Suesha. Apart from this, after he comes to this particular rally place, I'd like to try to pan my camera and show you the kind of the massive hall that is in fact being made for the Prime Minister to come here and address the people. Because remember, this is not also just about the developmental projects. The importance of this is also that of the impending elections that are all set to take place in December, and this really seems to be that the Prime Minister's campaigning route has also been started. The blitzkrieg when it comes to the Gujarat elections campaigning that the Prime Minister has taken, because now the first 3-day visit in fact of the Prime Minister that is taking place right after the 28-29 September visit that had also culminated, and in such frequency that we see of the Prime Minister coming to his home state of Gujarat, trying to remind the people of Gujarat that the message for the BJP for the Gujarat elections is only that of development, trying to remind the people of Gujarat as well that the developmental projects that he had talked about, inaugurated as well and laid the foundation stone for during his tenure as the Chief Minister, he's coming back as the Prime Minister and inaugurating them and dedicating them to the nation as well. So this is a huge message, Suesha, that is being sent out by the Prime Minister, especially when it comes to his visits to the home state, because not just here in Modera, because tomorrow and day after as well, the Prime Minister is going to be here in his home state, where he will be going to Jamnagar, he'll be going to Anand, then of course he's going to also inaugurate several projects in Ahmedabad as well. So all of that has a huge significance when it comes to the messaging of the BJP as well, the messaging of the Prime Minister as well, because even in the last visit we had seen Suesha that he had shared that stage with the Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, and he had talked about the double engine Sarkar. He has time and time again talked about how when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, the projects that he is now coming back to inaugurate had been stopped by the Delhi government, the union government of that time, and that is why we see that
All right, the network is slightly unstable in where Priyanka is standing, and understandably so for the jammers that have been installed as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to inaugurate that educational complex. I believe, Priyanka, you're back with us and you're also standing at a distance so that you are able to talk to all the viewers. But just a sense of, Priyanka, this particular project that the Prime Minister is inaugurating, the scale of this educational institute, and is the Prime Minister also going to be addressing the crowds? When can we cut across to him? More details from you, please.
Airport about 4 p.m. today, post which he will be coming to here in Mehsana in Modera, and then of course he will be addressing all of the public that you see around me. As you mentioned, we can't move around because of the network issues, but we will try to show you as much as we can with respect to the map.
All right, Priyanka, they're getting us all the details of the Prime Minister's visit. Chock-a-block schedule in the next 3 days, absolutely action-packed when it comes to the development projects that the Prime Minister will be launching in the state of Gujarat. That is all set to go to polls in the month of December, and over 14,500 crore rupees of projects that are set to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister between the 9th and the 11th of October. Extremely important, as this is the home state, also set to go to polls by the end of this year. All focus of the BJP on the state of Gujarat, where like I mentioned, the Prime Minister will be inaugurating this educational complex at about 3:15. Then at about 5:30 p.m. is when Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple projects at Modera in Mehsana. And a light and sound show that is also scheduled for this evening. It is a huge achievement because this is going to be declared as India's first solar-powered village in Modera. And the message to send out is not just the conservation of energy, but also the very fact that this project will also help people save up on electricity. A 24/7 solar-powered village, the first in Modera in the entire country. And the project will also realize Prime Minister Modi's vision to solarization of Sun Temple town of Modera. The project that is involved in developing a ground-mounted solar power plant and more than 1,300 rooftop solar systems on residential and government buildings, all integrated with a battery energy storage system. Priyanka, I believe you're back with us. I understand the chalky network, but really to get a sense, and I also request you to pan the camera around to show us what we can expect in the next couple of minutes. All right, so keeping a close eye on every movement of the Prime Minister, we'll try and fix that network with Priyanka so that we can go back to her, and all preparations underway to welcome the Prime Minister, who saw a rousing reception this morning in the home state of Gujarat. And yes, Prime Minister Modi who has arrived at Modhera in Gujarat. He will be inaugurating the village as the first solar-powered village in the country. And a quick check of the other stories as well. The legs of an elderly woman were chopped off by unidentified people to loot her anklets in Jaipur. The woman is reported to be at least 100 years old and was found lying severely injured near her house with further injuries on her neck. 27 bodies, including that of 25 trainees and 2 instructors, recovered so far from the site of the avalanche at the Draupadi Ka Danda Peak 2 at Danda in Uttarakhand. 2 trainees still remain missing as per the latest developments. A war of words broke out between Nitish Kumar and Kishor, with the political strategist stating that the Bihar Chief Minister did not have people he could trust around him. The remarks come about after Nitish Kumar alleged that Kishor had offered a merger between the Congress and the JDU.
ये उम्र का असर है। अंग्रेजी में वर्ड जो है थोड़ा डिल्यूजनल हो गए हैं, घबराहट भी है और कहीं न कहीं राजनीतिक तौर पे अकेले पड़ गए हैं। ऐसे लोगों से घिर गए हैं जिन पर उनका खुद का विश्वास नहीं है। इसी घबराहट में कुछ से कुछ बोल दे रहे हैं। तो उम्र का असर है और अकेले पड़ जाने की जो घबराहट है, इस वजह से कुछ बोल रहे हैं।
Family members of deceased actor and BJP leader Sonali Fogart received 2 letters from an anonymous sender, with one of the letters stating that a deal of 10 crore rupees was made in the murder case with names of political leaders mentioned in the other letter. The family went on to raise a request for the letters to be investigated. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister and DMK Supremo M.K. Stalin has been re-elected as the president of DMK, while Durai Murugan has been selected as the party's General Secretary. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar inaugurated the new Indian High Commission Chancery in Wellington and said that playing with each other's strengths was a more sensible way of growing the important relationship between India and New Zealand. Gujarat BJP Chief C.R. Patil commented on Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal stated that he was seeking votes from the people of Gujarat after seeking votes from them.
देखिए, मैंने केजरीवाल जैसा कोई झूठ बोलने वाला आदमी आज तक देखा नहीं। एक मुख्यमंत्री, एक जवाबदार अधिकारी होने के बावजूद जिस तरह से वो झूठ बोलते हैं, तो उनके लिए कुछ कहना मेरे लिए तो मुश्किल है।
Speaking on the debate around Tipu Sultan's legacy following the change in name of the Tipu Express to the Modera Express, AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi questioned why people should have an issue with Tipu Sultan if the formulators of the constitution did not have an issue with him.
टीपू शहीद है और जब तक टीपू जिंदा था अंग्रेज डरते थे। आज बीजेपी टीपू से डर रही है। क्यों डर रही है? आप टीपू, अगर आपको ट्रेन निकालना था, एक और ट्रेन किसी और नाम पे निकालते। मगर टीपू सुल्तान से नफरत, ये भारत को जो अंग्रेजों से लड़ाई लड़ी, जो अंग्रेजों की गुलामी से भारत को छुड़ाने के लिए जो टीपू ने अपनी जान की कुर्बानी दी, आप उसकी तौहीन कर रहे हैं।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired the 70th plenary session of the North-Eastern Council in Guwahati on his last day visit to North-East. Earlier this morning, Shah offered prayers at the Kamakhya temple.
The 5th phase of the Champions Boat League commenced from Kerala's Kochi district. The Champions League kicked off from the Marine Drive of the Kochi district. The Water Sports Festival was flagged off by the State Irrigation Minister, Roshi Augustin. The Champions Boat League, which is being conducted by the Tourism Department, is being held in the Indian Premier League model. The Champions Boat League opened off with 9 skateboards. It was the 4th consecutive year since 2017 that the rowers from Kashmir are participating in the snake boat race. The traditional boat race, which is a legacy of decades for the state, is also being held along with the CBL. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Massive coverage from Maharashtra in regards of who will stake claim on Shiv Sena. Stay tuned to Republic TV to back-to-back update.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman. Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic.
Thank you for staying with Republic. We are now shifting our focus to what is happening in Mumbai, where the Sena versus Sena fight is escalating, especially after the order of the Election Commission of India that is asking either factions to not use the bow and arrow symbol. This comes as a huge blow to both the factions that are now underway as far as the legal battle is concerned. And not just that, hectic parleys that are underway with back-to-back meetings that have been happening when it comes to considering other names as well. Now, as far as the Uddhav faction is concerned, we're gathering more source-based information of the party meeting that happened today. And I would rather say that the Uddhav Thackeray faction that met where the symbol issue was discussed, and the Uddhav faction is now considering three other options for the symbol, that is the torch, Trishul, the rising sun. I want to cut across to my colleague Alisha, who's tracking every single development very closely, because Alisha, we understand that Uddhav Thackeray is to be present on all the social media platforms this evening, where he will be addressing his supporters. Meanwhile, in the meeting that happened, a lot that was discussed when it comes to possible options of the party symbol and the name as well for the Uddhav faction when it comes to how they will represent the party. Please give us all the details.
Well, yes, Suesha, as far as the election party name and the symbol is concerned, we know that Election Commission has clearly given an instructions that none of the either group, that is whether it is Uddhav Thackeray faction or Eknath Shinde faction, they are not going to use the Shiv Sena name as well as the symbol, that is bow and arrow, which was reserved for Shiv Sena, and also have been directed to furnish the new symbol, the free symbol that is allocated in the from the Election Commission of India by tomorrow 1 p.m. So here comes the Uddhav Thackeray has already held a meeting with the senior Shiv Sena leaders from his faction. Also, the legal team was present is what we have been told. Now, even Arvind Sawant, who is a chief Shiv Sena MP, who has confirmed Republic Newsbreak when it comes to the symbol. The possible discussions over the symbol that is will be torch, that is mashal. The second one is a trishul, and third is a rising sun. So these are the three possible symbols that is taken into the consideration by Uddhav Thackeray. But also when it comes to the party name, so it will be Shiv Sena Bayasaheb Thackeray. Second is Shiv Sena Prabodhankar Thackeray, and the third is Shiv Sena Uddhav Bayasaheb Thackeray. So these are the possible names and symbols that has been discussed in a meeting in Matoshree, where Uddhav Thackeray held the meeting. And moreover, it's very important where Uddhav Thackeray is going to address the state at 6 p.m. Through Facebook Live, and he is going to make a confirmation. But if we talk about the legal aspects, because this is where both the group has been looking after. Here, speaking to Republic, where Sanjay Sirsat has clearly mentioned that they are also going to discuss over the party name and the symbol at around 7 p.m. in Varsha Bungalow, which is an official Chief Minister Bungalow, where all the senior leaders, including the Minister, MLAs, MP and the other senior leaders who is going to be present in the same meeting, and they are also going to discuss over the symbol and the party name, and later is going to be revealed. So tomorrow, where the Election Commission hearing is going to be happen, and from both the party, they are going to give the possibility, the possible three names and symbol before the Election Commission. And if the decision has not been taken into consideration by the Election Commission, there comes the Supreme Court, where they are going to approach. So it is very important to see whether what Eknath Shinde comes up, whether it is to the symbols and the party name, because here is the Uddhav Thackeray faction who has already decided and the discussion has already taken place over the symbols and the party name, and as earlier mentioned, the three possible symbols, that are Trishul, Mashal and the rising sun, that is Ukta Suraj, is what they have taken into consideration, and as well as the party name as well. But the official confirmation is going to be come up at 6 p.m. where Uddhav Thackeray is going to address the state.
All right. We are waiting for that, Alicia, and watching every development very closely. Meanwhile, we are also picking up a lot of voices from both the factions. Arvind Sawant has also spoken at the moment. Let's see if we can play that out for our viewers.
लेकिन हमारे नाम से एफिडेविट बन गए, तो इसमें झूठे शायद आधार कार्ड भी यूज़ किए गए होंगे, झूठे इलेक्शन कार्ड भी यूज़ किए होंगे, क्योंकि ये जो वहाँ पे रेड हुई उसमें कुछ आधार कार्ड भी बरामद हुए, उसमें कुछ इलेक्शन कार्ड्स भी बरामद हुए थे। तो इसका मतलब साफ है, ये सब एक स्ट्रैटेजी है, ये सब खेल है जो खेला जा रहा है इंस्टीट्यूशंस के खिलाफ, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन है, और उनके खिलाफ बोला भी जा रहा है। तो ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। आप ऐसी वाली साजिश करते हैं और आप बोलते हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन के बारे में, जिसका आपको मान रखना चाहिए। अगर ये डेमोक्रेसी है तो डेमोक्रेसी में सुप्रीम क्या होता है? इलेक्शन कमीशन लेता है। जो इलेक्शन कमीशन इलेक्शंस लेता है उनके बारे में तो बुरा मत कहिए, तो उसके बारे में हर एक को रिस्पेक्ट रखना है, क्योंकि इंडियन डेमोक्रेसी इज़ द लार्जेस्ट डेमोक्रेसी इन द वर्ल्ड। इसका हमें अभिमान होना चाहिए, अपने इलेक्शन कमीशन को अभिमान होना चाहिए। और आप 4-4 बार अपना एफिडेविट वहाँ पे नहीं देंगे, अपने डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं देंगे और फिर चिन्ह फ्रीज हो गया तो लोगों को बोलेंगे कि ये चिन्ह खत्म हो गया। ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है। मैंने ऐसे भी इंसिडेंट्स बोले कि जहाँ पे फ्रीज किया और बाद में ओरिजिनल जो चिन्ह था वो जो उसका सही क्लेमेंट है उसको दिया गया था। तो हमने सब दिए हैं हमारे डॉक्यूमेंट, तो हमें मिलना चाहिए।
So far, any discussions or deliberations on possible symbol or name for the party so far?
Because we were not prepared for this. Please try to understand. 8 o'clock that verdict came, and in the morning their lawyer or representatives going to election commission and giving the symbol. That means they were prepared for this. We were not prepared for this. And since we are the true followers of Baba Saheb, they have taken care that everything that they have given, it mentions about Baba Saheb, Shiv Sena Baba Saheb, then this. So all the three, so that the true followers of Baba Saheb, they should not get that name also. That is also their strategy.
From your end, sir, they have put Baba
No, we follow true democracy. Suppose that decision came at 8 o'clock and the affidavit went in the morning. Was anybody consulted about it? Were the MLAs consulted? Where the parliamentarians were consulted? Where the netas were consulted? Where the upanetas were consulted? We have called for a meeting of all these people, because unless we consult them, it's a democratic process. How one person can give the symbol or demand for a symbol without consulting any of his party members? So we follow true democracy and will go by the democratic norms only.
उदय जी, एक सवाल आपसे है, जो फिर नौकरी वाला मामला है, ये सिर्फ मुंबई तक सीमित हो सकता है या पूरे महाराष्ट्र में इस तरह की फर्जी नौकरी बनाए जाने का काम चल रहा होगा? ऐसा कोई रिपोर्ट, ऐसी कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन आप लोगों के पास है? कोई डिमांड करते हैं आप यूनियन होम मिनिस्ट्री से या फिर स्टेट में आपकी सरकार है?
नहीं, ऑब्वियसली अभी जो एफिडेविट मिले हैं वो सिर्फ बम्बई की मिली है। ये मेरे ख्याल से हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में रहेंगे और उसका चौकसी होना चाहिए, और इसका अर्जी हम यहाँ के जो होम मिनिस्टर है उनके पास करने वाले हैं।
कितना बड़ा है?
अभी केसरकर साहब ने बोला ना कि अभी तक हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन जो है वो 10 करोड़ के स्टैंप लिए हुए हैं और वो सब बोगस है। अभी यहाँ तो 4 से 5 हज़ार तक अभी पकड़े गए हैं निर्मल नगर जो पुलिस स्टेशन है उसमें। तो ये मुंबई सीमित नहीं है, ये हर एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में रहेगा, हर एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक स्कैम रहेगा और उसकी चौकसी होनी चाहिए।
केसरकर साहब, आखिरी सवाल है, आप लोगों ने कोई ऑप्शन सोचा है कि जो चिन्ह है वो चीज़ हो गया है, तो ऑप्शनल कोई चिन्ह आप लोग कब कर देंगे? कोई मीटिंग?
देखिए, इसीलिए इसके लिए पार्टी में एक विचार मंथन होना चाहिए, और उसके लिए पार्टी के जो सब वरिष्ठ नेता है, जिसमें MLAs है, MPs है, नेता है, उपनेता है, तो उनकी मीटिंग बुलाई है हमारे ऑनरेबल मुख्य नेता एकनाथ शिंदे जी ने। तो उसमें वो डिस्कस हो जाएगा और कल सुबह तक हम हमारा दे देंगे, क्योंकि इसके लिए तो हम रेडी थे ही नहीं, क्योंकि हमें लगता था कि हमारे पास मेजॉरिटी है तो हमें ही वो सिंबल मिल जाएगा। लेकिन आज अगर नहीं हो रहा है तो इसके बारे में विचार विनिमय होगा और बाद में हम लोग अपना क्लेम दे देंगे।
सर, दिल्ली सीट में आप भी प्रत्याशी खड़ा कर रहे हैं।
देखिए, इसका जो निर्णय है वो आदरणीय एकनाथ जी शिंदे साहब और देवेंद्र जी फडणवीस साहब ये इकट्ठा बैठ के ले लेंगे महाराष्ट्र में इसका, और इसीलिए कोई भी तय नहीं हुआ है। जो भी करेंगे एक मत से करेंगे। लोगों ने वहाँ पे युति को ही जिताया था, मतलब बीजेपी सेना युति के कहाँ भी हम लोग लड़ते हैं तो युति के कैंडिडेट होने के हम लोग युति के ही कैंडिडेट होते हैं, चाहे हमारा सिंबल लोटस हो, चाहे हमारा बो एंड एरो हो, लेकिन हम लोग इकट्ठा ही लड़ते हैं और इकट्ठा ही लड़ेंगे।
आप पहले डिसाइड नहीं है, लेकिन बीजेपी के मुर्शिद पटेल तो लोकल लेवल पे कैंपेनिंग में भी जुट गए हैं।
नहीं, हर कोई कैंडिडेट जिसको लगता है कि मैं फ्यूचर कैंडिडेट हूँ वो तैयारी में जुट जाता है, वो उसका इंडिविजुअल ये है। जो डिसीजन होगा वो तो शिंदे साहब और फडणवीस साहब करेंगे, मतलब शिवसेना और बीजेपी ही करेगी।
सर, ये सवाल इसलिए कि इसके पहले जो वहाँ पे वो शिवसेना के
देखिए, जब युति का शासन था इससे पहले तो बीजेपी का मुख्यमंत्री था, बराबर है ना, फिर आज शिवसेना का हो गया। हम में इतना मेलजोल है कि कौन मुख्यमंत्री है, कौन एमएलए है, ये हमारे लिए अहमियत नहीं रखता है। राष्ट्र का कल्याण, राज्य का कल्याण, ये हमारे लिए अहमियत रखता है। हमारी जो पार्टी की विचारधारा है वो हमारे लिए अहमियत रखती है और इसी को डेमोक्रेसी बोलते हैं। डेमोक्रेसी में वोट ऑर्डिनरी पर्सन देता है, सिटीजन देता है, उसी तरह से गवर्नमेंट भी आना चाहिए। महाराष्ट्र में क्या हुआ, जीत चुकी थी युति और आ गई कौन सत्ता पे आ गई लोकशाही आघाड़ी, मतलब ये डिफरेंस है। और इसीलिए डेमोक्रेसी का जो बोल रहे हैं कि डेमोक्रेसी का ये अपमान है वगैरह, ये सब झूठी बात है। डेमोक्रेसी का अपमान तब हो गया जब लोगों ने जो वर्डिक्ट दिया था उसका अपमान, ये डेमोक्रेसी का अपमान। थैंक यू
So that was the live news briefing that was being led by Deepak Kesarkar, who was representing the Shinde faction on what exactly is going to be the next move, as we have been seeing back-to-back meetings happening within the Shinde faction as well. But at one end sounding very confident of surely the camp winning the symbol. Deepak Kesarkar also hinting at how they were absolutely not prepared for such a situation. So now a lot of options that are being discussed. This at a time when we also put out source-based information as far as the Uddhav camp is concerned, where they are already talking about the possible options for the symbol and the party name. But the Shinde camp sounding confident that they'll get the symbol, also saying that they are the ones who represent true democracy in the Shiv Sena, because they really have the numbers, and as far as the EC order is concerned, they hold that in full regard, but they are also confident of winning the symbol. Alisha, if I can come to you, really getting a sense of where the Shinde camp stands at this point, because they're saying that they're firm on their decision. They are saying that they're confident of winning the symbol, and they're saying that they are not going to budge. For them, it is the original bow and arrow symbol of the Shiv Sena, and they are going to get that because they represent the true democracy.
Well, yes, we just heard Deepak Kesarkar and Uddhav Samant, who is the minister, cabinet minister in Eknath Shinde and the BJP government. So they have clearly mentioned that they were actually not expecting, and looking into the constitution, they have the majority when it comes to the symbol. They have asked from the Election Commission of India to allot them bow and arrow symbol, because it's Uddhav Thackeray and his group that has been misusing the symbol. So here comes a decision. After that, the decision that has been taken by Election Commission that has freezes the symbol bow and arrow that is reserved for Shiv Sena. But Uddhav Thackeray has already had a meeting with the legal team as well as the senior Sena leaders, who has discussed over the symbols and the name of the party that is going to represent in the upcoming Gandhi East bypoll elections that is going to held on 3rd of November. But when it comes to Eknath Shinde faction, where the important meeting and emergency meeting that has been called in by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde in Varsha Bungalow, which is an official bungalow of Chief Minister. So all the MPs, MLAs are going to be present in the same meeting, and they are going to discuss over the possible symbol that is going to represent them in the bypoll elections that is going to come forward in the month of November. So it's very important to see now what decision that will be taken by Eknath Shinde, because it will be because 3 free symbols from that has been allotted by the Election Commission of India has already been taken, is what has confirmed even by Shiv Sena MP Arvind Sawant while speaking to media and Republic, where he said that we have already discussed over the 3 symbol, and this is the 3 symbol that they need to inform Election Commission of India. So now Eknath Shinde has to choose the 3 symbols apart from the 3 symbol that has been chosen by Uddhav Thackeray. But all eyes also on Uddhav Thackeray, where he is going to address the state at 6 p.m, where he is going to make a statement, but obviously against Eknath Shinde and this situation, because bow and arrow symbol that has been fixed for Shiv Sena, that represent and reserved for Shiv Sena since 1989, and it's been 56 years. So this is something now making a change, and it is a freezes by the Election Commission of India is after 56 years. So all eyes on Uddhav Thackeray address to the state at 6 p.m. On the other hand, there will be Chief Minister Eknath Shinde who is going to held an important meeting with all the MLAs and MP over the symbol and the party name. Continuously rolling on this big story. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Thank you for for staying with Republic. We are cutting across to these latest pictures. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just landed in Ahmedabad. That picture that has been put out by the Prime Minister office on Twitter. And very important as far as this 3-day visit is concerned. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to launch projects to the tune of 14,500 crore rupees. These are all development projects in the state of Gujarat that is set to face polls by the end of this year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Gujarat from the 9th to the 11th of October. 3 days that has an action-packed schedule lined up for the Prime Minister, who will be inaugurating a slew of projects in the state of Gujarat. He has just landed in Ahmedabad, and that picture that has been put out by the Prime Minister office, that rousing reception for the Prime Minister. And of course, this evening he will also be inaugurating India's first solar-powered village in Modera, a message that is also sending out to the entire country when it comes to the conservation of energy. And Prime Minister will be launching India's first solar-powered village. A packed 3-day visit for the Prime Minister in the poll-bound state of Gujarat, which is the entire focus for the BJP at this point. We're stepping into a very short commercial break. We'll be back with my colleague Priyanka, who's tracking every single movement of the Prime Minister. That and more on the other side. Stay with us.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. The world is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India.
Thank you for staying with Republic. All our focus on Prime Minister's 3-day visit to Gujarat, where we understand that he's just landed in Ahmedabad. Priyanka, if I can quickly come back to you. You're tracking every single movement of the Prime Minister and what exactly is lined up in the next 3 days. What's happening at the moment, Priyanka?
Well, Suesha, of course, we are seeing that the 3-day visit of the Prime Minister is all set to begin now, as he has landed in Ahmedabad, and from Ahmedabad he will be coming here in Mehsana, in Modhera specifically. And I'd like to pan our cameras once again to show how exactly the crowd in fact is gathering here. You can see the sea of saffron safas in fact that you can see here, that so many people in fact have gathered here to listen to the Prime Minister, because it is the Prime Minister who is going to kick off his three-day tour of the home state, of his home state. And this is of course something that is going to be a grand event, where the Prime Minister is also going to be talking about the developmental projects that he is going to be inaugurating and dedicating to the nation. Now, these are the projects that he had also talked about as the Chief Minister, when he was the Chief Minister of the state of Gujarat. And then of course then he has talked about how he is coming back as the Prime Minister to inaugurate these projects as well, specifically of the Modera project, that is the first village, that it is going to be declared as the first village that is completely electrified with the use of solar energy. And we are seeing the solar park as well, that is going to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister. Along with that, a very nice light show as well.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IAF Day.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till
The International Criminal Police Organization, generally known as the Interpol, is an intergovernmental organization which consists of 195 member countries. The major role is that to help police to work together to make the world a safer place. To do this, the organization enables them to share and access data on crimes and criminals and offer a range of technical and operational support. Now the question is, who makes up the Interpol? Well, the General Secretariat coordinates day-to-day activities to fight a range of crimes. Run by the Secretary General, it is staffed by both police and civilians and comprises a headquarter in Singapore and several satellite offices in different regions. The General Assembly is the governing body and it brings all countries together once a year to take some major decisions. Now these decisions are on policy, resources and finances of the organization that needs to be managed. The General Secretariat provides a range of expertise and services to member countries. Interpol manages 19 police databases with information of crimes and criminals ranging from names and fingerprints to stolen passports, which is accessible in real time to countries. Now, India will be hosting the 90th Interpol General Assembly in the national capital from 18th to 21st of October.
Out of turn one that India will be hosting. Now, India, of course, has been given a chance to host this event as we are celebrating the 76th year of our independence. The key focus of this event is going to be several issues that relate to security. One of them, of course, is going to be cybercrime, financial crimes and also child pornography that is peddled on the internet.
The agenda for this meet will be on the future of policing today's crimes like anti-corruption, cybercrime, crimes against children and others. Not just this, Executive Committee elections will also be held this time. Some of the successful operations that the CBI carried out with the Interpol is Operation Meghdut, Operation Chakra and Operation Garud. India has also been one of the relatively more active members and all eyes will be on the key decisions that will be made during this meeting. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Hello and welcome. You're watching a special broadcast with me, Shavan Sen, as India is all set to host Interpol's General Assembly this month. Ladies and gentlemen, criminality has become a global phenomenon in the modern age. The dangers of international crime have to be faced squarely by all the nations, and this is where Interpol comes into the picture. Interpol is the world's largest international police organization which helps to collate, share data of criminals spread all over the world. India will be hosting the 90th Interpol General Assembly starting from 18th to the 21st of October. And as the National Central Bureau for Interpol in India, Central Bureau of Investigation coordinates closely with the law enforcement agencies across 195 member countries of Interpol. CBI, along with the Narcotics Control Bureau, recently participated actively in Interpol Global Operation Lionfish, involving international seizure of illicit narcotics. Now, however, having said that, there are a lot of misconceptions about the Interpol and how does it really work. There is a popular culture attached to the Interpol, and many perhaps assume that there is a fast investigation is only going to take place because we are a member of the Interpol. Now, to understand this entire functioning of Interpol, the significance of India holding the General Assembly in the national capital, joining us, three fine gentlemen joining us on this broadcast. Let me introduce you. For the first time on Indian television, we have the former CBI Director, Mr. Rishi Shukla, an IPS officer of the 1983 batch. He served as the DGP Madhya Pradesh and retired as the Director, Central Bureau of Investigation in 2021. In fact, it is 2-year stint as the CBI Director, so the agency tackling and also getting breakthrough in many key areas. 37 long career years Rishi Shukla has served as the SP of several districts in Madhya Pradesh. He's also been awarded the President's Police Medals for Distinguished and Meritorious Service. Joining us in the Delhi studio is Mr. Anil Sena. He served as the CBI Director from 2014 to 2016. He's a 1979 batch IPS officer of the Bihar cadre, and he's also served in many posts in vigilance in both New Delhi and in Bihar. Also joining us from London is Dr. R.K. Raghavan. He's joined the Indian Police Service in 1963, served as the DGP of Police in Tamil Nadu. His tenure at the CBI was from 1999 to April 2001. He's also a recipient of the Indian Police Medal for the Meritorious Service and President's Medal for Distinguished Service. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on this special broadcast. Let me straight away start this conversation with Mr. Shukla, because it was during his tenure when India was chosen to host the General Assembly of Interpol in 2022. And in fact, he's played a pivotal role in ensuring that India hosts the General Assembly. So thank you very much, Mr. Shukla. Let me straight away begin by asking you the significance of India hosting the General Assembly.
Thank you, Sean. I recall it was the middle of 2019 when the Secretary General of the Interpol was to visit India. The Honorable Prime Minister at that moment of time suggested that 2022 is the 75th year of Indian independence, and that should be an occasion where we should be able to showcase it to the world at large how Indian law enforcement has progressed and how it has come over a period of time. That is how this idea originated. Mandated with this direction, we broke into a dialogue with the Secretary General, with the other agencies, and it appeared that the Great Britain had already put in a informal sort of a communication that they would like to host the 2022 General Assembly. However, we managed to convince them that this being the 75th year of our independence, it is beyond the fitness of things that we host this event, and that is how we were able to propose in the General Assembly at Santiago in 2019 that we host this event, and it was unanimously accepted. Interpol, as you just mentioned, is a police organization. It is not an agency which investigates or makes arrests. It's a multilateral cooperation and coordination organization with 195 members. Members probably, if not more, than at least as much as that of the United Nations. It also predates most of the multilateral organizations. Law enforcement, criminal law is a matter of national jurisdiction. Criminal law, justice, it falls on national boundaries. However, criminals are going without any boundaries. They commit crimes all over the world. And without cooperation, without active exchange of information and quick information, we would not be able to work effectively. And that is where the Interpol comes in. It not only is a multilateral organization, but a General Assembly like this would allow a lot of bilateral understandings, a lot of bilateral, let us say, behind the scene meetings, which would also introduce the people to each other who would be able to communicate with each other in case of a need which comes for multilateral and bilateral. In both the cases, this General Assembly is going to be a big boost to Indian law enforcement as well as to the Indian image of having come a long way in the last 75 years.
Well, in fact, let me also now bring it, Mr. Anil Sena, taking from where Mr. Shukla has left. Talking about the brass tacks, Mr. Sena, the agenda of the General Assembly, and over the last few months, what we have seen, India's contribution also, and the fact that be it in cybercrime, financial crimes, child sex offences, among others, do you really believe that India sees Interpol as a collaborative, a constructive collaborator in law enforcement?
Absolutely. First and foremost, India has been having a very effective engagement with Interpol in the past and also now. Recently, you might have noticed that CBI has conducted searches with regards to the crime in the cyberspace, and they have collaborated with various agencies, including Interpol and international agencies like FBI and others. In fact, today itself, the news said that 105 locations were searched. And CBI has been pursuing excellence. They have a very well established system of procedures to follow the mandate, that is to ensure rule of law. Now, as a law enforcement agency, CBI has been having a wonderful engagement with the Interpol, but at the same time, it must be understood and seen from the contextual references. And the contextual references that, number one, India has been able to build over a period of recent times an ecosystem which is conducive for the economic growth, and that economic growth has resulted in our coming to the level of ascendancy under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, that we have come to the stage where we are the 5th largest economy now. So India's growth trajectory is not missed by anyone. And secondly, the context is that 2015, Interpol, the World Bank and the CBI had held under their joint aegis a conference. That conference was the Global Focal Point Conference on Asset Recovery, assets which are stashed away, which are taken away as dirty money, and they are stashed away, and for the recovery of that. And during the course of that, the Honorable Prime Minister had given a vision. In fact, he had spoken about it, and he had said that dirty money is something which drives away good money. It is also a form of transnational crime which funds terrorism. So there is an initiative which India, CBI and Interpol has been jointly taking against organized crime, particularly the one which has been funding terrorism and illicit trade which has been flourishing. So that kind of initiative has been there with the CBI, and CBI has been pursuing its mandate very well. And in that context, I would think that the General Assembly, which is basically a conference of the supreme governing body of the 195 nations, as my friend Mr. Rishi Shukla had said, during that period, a lot of discussions are going to take place, and a fruitful engagement would be there between India and Interpol. And as again said by Mr. Shukla, there would be bilaterals, there will be multilaterals, and both in that situation, I see that the future of policing would be discussed. There would be a whole lot of things like how to ensure safety and security of people, and in various areas, from human trafficking to drugs peddling to narcotics to illicit trade, which incidentally amounts to almost, as per the data of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, to almost 2 trillion parallel economy. So that again would be one area which would be discussed. And India has been facing threats, as you know, from both sides, from the Golden Crescent and from the Golden Triangle. So we need to ensure that our people are safe, our people are secure, because we have now have a good ecosystem. We have been having effective measures that have been taken against terrorism, and we are moving ahead. Our growth trajectory cannot be missed. So in that context, I see this.
In fact, what I'll do right now is get into more specifics in terms of cases and how exactly has Interpol been of help to India. Let me bring in Dr. Raghavan also. Dr. Raghavan, what I really find interesting during your tenure, as you've headed the Interpol in India at a time when the CBI was also handling some of those sensational cases, starting from Bofors scandal, then the cricket match fixing scam. Now, what I want to understand from you, how critical was it in terms of international cooperation in cases like Bofors, where the CBI team had basically sent a team to Malaysia for the extradition of Kutrochi? And also, let's not forget about the IC-81 hijacking. So in terms of these cases where at that point in time, during your tenure, things would have seemed to be far more difficult than what it is in terms of cooperation.
Yes, Arun. Thank you very much for inviting me for this discussion. First of all, I must laud the Government of India and then the CBI for having managed to get the Interpol agreed to a General Assembly session in India, perhaps for the first time. There's a signal achievement which is going to enhance not only the Interpol but our own law establishments. I'm happy that the Interpol is going to meet the General Assembly comprising nearly 195 nations. So that will give a boost to international cooperation with Indian police, Indian law enforcement agencies, and the rest of the world. Yes, I'm happy that you referred to the past, specifically 3 cases in which I was able to get the Interpol help us with the concerned nations. The first was IC-814, the flight that was hijacked to Kandahar, the flight from Kathmandu to Delhi. That was a significant happening, which we investigated. And the FBI, for the first time, came into the picture. They invoked their jurisdiction because at least 2 or 3 passengers were of American nationals. So it required a certain sleight of hand to get the intervention of the FBI, again, through the good officers of the Interpol. So that definitely helped us to go forward with a complicated international investigation. The second, and of course, the famous match fixing, which transcended beyond the borders of India, with the identification of Ansi Cronje, the South African captain, who was involved in a network of bettors who were staking the money on Indian cricket. And then, of course, Bofors. I need not expatiate on Bofors because the facts are very clear. It had very many international ramifications, and we had to work closely with Switzerland to get the crucial records. And subsequently, after the case was charge sheeted under my leadership, then we had the fleeing of Kotorochi to Malaysia. That also, in that aspect also, we were able to get first the Switzerland's cooperation, then the Malaysian government's cooperation. So all this would not have been possible without our seeking the assistance of the Interpol. Here, I would like to pass, of course, my 2 other colleagues have already mentioned this, for the benefit of the average listener or average person who is watching this program. Interpol is not a full-fledged police agency. It doesn't have police powers. A lot of misconception that once you go to Interpol will swing its arm and then do investigation. Interpol, I think this is the right time to explain to the Indian audience that Interpol is not a full-fledged police organization. It's a kind of a clearinghouse of information. When a country issues the so-called red corner notice, that is, needs a person against whom a warrant is pending in our country, then the red corner notice, we seek a red corner notice from the Interpol. The Interpol sends a notice to various countries to tell them that if this particular individual who is mentioned in the red corner notice is found in their countries, they should immediately inform India. So sometimes, of course, our illustrious neighbor, Pakistan, has been handing over Dawood Ibrahim. They say that there is no such person by the name of Dawood Ibrahim. So if a person changes his name and then evades the red corner notice, it becomes a big problem. So these are the ways in which the Interpol is able to help us. Once we tell them, then they relay the information to all the member countries. And of course, till some people, I myself called it a paper tiger years ago, because it cannot go beyond issuing the red corner notice. It can only exchange information. So I am hoping that one of these days, this lacuna will be filled, and then the nations will come together and give certain kind of authority to Interpol so that all investigations are quickly wound up, quickly concluded.
Well, I think so. All of you would agree that this is an area that needs a lot more discussion. So let me bring it Rishi Shukla on this very point. Mr. Shukla, during your tenure, we've seen several of the high-profile cases which required international cooperation. Can I then ask you, was there a moment where you really felt that the challenges are insurmountable, the fact that it's difficult to get real-time information, or would you say that things have become far more better in terms of extracting information from Interpol and Interpol member nations? Or would you say that there is a lot more work that needs to be done? What is it, in your opinion, that needs to be done at this point in time?
Okay, so let us first be clear that Interpol basically has a lot of information available in its databases. It runs 19 databases and there are billions of records. So there is some information which is readily available. We can get that information from the Interpol provided we reciprocate with that information. That is one very strong point of the Interpol. However, once we have been able to locate a person in a particular country, then it becomes a bilateral issue. We have been able to, let us say, have a red corner notice against a high-profile economic offender like Nirav Modi. Now, Nirav Modi was picked up by the UK police and he still continues to be in prison. But the process of extradition of Nirav Modi is a judicial process and the Interpol has no role in that. Interpol role ends when we are able to exchange the information. Then it is for the law enforcement in India to get into an agreement with the law enforcement in that particular nation and get further action. The international investigation is again a huge area. We have mutual legal assistance treaties. We have a system in the criminal law by which we can ask for judicial requests and we get back the answers, investigations from the police forces. But the key point of Interpol is its immense database. I mean, if we want, we should be able to, if we are able to say that who's boarding a flight, let us say from Seattle to Shanghai, that information would be available to us in a moment's notice. So it's a huge amount of information and that is the strength. So probably that is where in the forthcoming General Assembly, a lot more discussions are likely to be held. And I'm sure that given the absolutely technological change which has happened, a lot of information happening in other countries would be easily available to the law enforcement here. And then we would be able to take up the evidence and go and get the necessary legal support from the other country and get our fugitives back in India.
Mr. Raghavan, if I can ask you specifics in terms of the need of the hour. While we know that there is a limited mandate that the Interpol has in terms of exchange of information, it's more like a repository of information. But things have been changing. It's been evolving, and perhaps we also need to change with times. You've been very critical of the Interpol. Your columns where you've essentially made a mention, and I recall one such column where, especially where you've had very strong views on the Interpol when it comes to cooperation for nabbing dreaded global terrorists like Dawood Ibrahim. How do you think Interpol can be better used, especially when it comes to national security concerns? And what do you think specifically needs to be done? Go beyond just issuing notices.
Yes, you raised a very pertinent question. Nothing can happen. Nothing will change unless the political leadership of the various countries is agreed that, yes, Interpol needs to be clothed with greater powers, it should be taken more seriously, and it should go beyond sharing of information. As Mr. Shukla said, it has got tremendous, it's got a very huge database which will help us in a jiffy. If we want to get to know somebody, with background, yes, Interpol will be able to help us. But then you can issue a red card notice, which brings to world attention the misdeeds of any particular individual against whom a case has been registered in a country A, and whose courts have also issued a non-bailable warrant. Yes, thus far so good. But beyond that, it's very difficult to conceive of a situation, of a time when countries will come together and then invest in the Interpol more authority than it does now. This is a highly academic, rhetoric issue, and I don't see any resolution of this major problem in the immediate future. So why not, as Shukla said, bilateral cooperation takes over once the Interpol is finished its role of giving information and then issuing a red corner notice. And beyond that, the one great advantage we have derived from Interpol is its information system, the computer system, which is phenomenal, which is kept in pace with technological advances all over the world. And we have also drawn heavily on the prowess of the Interpol in terms of technology. So things will have to change drastically if Interpol has to be taken seriously. Countries like Pakistan can ignore. There is no sanction if the Interpol issues a red corner notice. A country, another country in which a person wanted resides is then located. That country can ask you to go to hell. It can refuse to implement the red corner notice with impunity. There is no legal sanction against that country which defies the and does not cooperate with information, does not carry the information supplied to it beyond a certain limit. It refuses to take cognizance and refuses to hand over a person. It's mainly handing over of individual accused who flee this country and then go to another country and which is hostile to India. Then the country which is hostile can ask us to go to hell. That's a main lacuna. I don't know how we can resolve it unless there is a political will among various countries.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. The world is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena by-polls.
No longer on the fence anymore. New India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh.
Well, in fact, also, Mr. Sena, if I can bring you in right now, there is one more aspect, as I understand, that too much of focus is only about the red corner notices, the yellow corner notices, etc. But the fact of the matter, there are other areas of concern also. You make a mention of the global asset recovery. As I understand, the FATF and the Interpol, they're coming together in terms of intensifying the global asset recovery. I want you to also touch upon the fact that do you think that there is an area of opportunity for the Interpol to perhaps also look at certain areas which were untouched for years together, especially if you're talking about global asset recovery? What does this mean, and do you really feel that there's a way forward?
Well, you're absolutely right, Sean. Basically, what happens is that all this is intertwined in the sense that, as Mr. Raghavan has said, and as Rishi Shukla Sahab has also said earlier, is that much depends on the cooperation which is available through various nations. See, 195 nations are members of this International Criminal Police Organization. The Interpol provides a platform, it provides databases, it provides tools, it provides sharing of knowledge, information, everything. But ultimately what happens is that when you want some concrete action, then in that case, the cooperation has to be forthcoming from the other side also. The other side being the other member nation where the fugitive might be hiding or stashing away his dirty money. You referred to that 6th Global Focal Point Conference, and I can tell you that Honorable Prime Minister, when he was speaking, he talked about it, that Interpol should work out a mechanism, it should work out a system by which such action is taken against dirty money that it becomes very difficult for people to take away money, plunder a nation's wealth and stash it somewhere else. Because such kind of organized crime that goes into illicit trade, which goes into money laundering, ultimately where does it end up all? It ends up only in funding the terrorist activities and in funding activities which are crimes against humanity. So in such cases, we need to take concerted action with the cooperation of one and all. Point here is that the databases are there, and we now have transformational technology. With this kind of transformational technology which is available to one and all, there is a growing need. That need is that in the uses of the data analytics and in sharing of the information on a real-time basis, there should be a cooperation without any riders. That kind of cooperation should not be subject to only the sweet will of any member nation, but unfortunately that is easier said than done. It will again depend upon the climate. Most of the democratic countries, they say that they would love to exchange information, but our experience has been that Interpol does provide a medium, it does provide a platform, but ultimately it boils down to the bilateral relations and treaties between the two countries and what kind of diplomatic climate, what kind of international relations the member countries are having, because it amounts to cooperation between one country to another country. It is international, so which means one nation to another nation. Interpol is only providing you the linkage in law enforcement.
Can I just take one more question from Mr. Shukla also, that in terms of the functioning of Interpol, and today with the General Assembly being held here in the national capital, do you think India today is in a position to perhaps at least make certain suggestions to the General Assembly of what needs to be done in a constructive manner, so that at least there is some power that is given to the Interpol? They are in a position to perhaps take better decisions, or decisions which is going to have some sort of an impact on ground in terms of policing?
Sean, the recent past, there have been some big steps taken. It's after several years that we have now a member from the Indian law enforcement elected to the Interpol governing executive committee. The special director of CBI, Sri Praveen Sena, is an elected member of this elite council, which makes significant change in what the Interpol looks at things in a manner. Secondly, the last few years there have been some sort of a consensus amongst member states that crimes like child sexual abuse, crimes like human trafficking, and crimes like drug trafficking need to be looked at in a global manner, irrespective of where is it happening and what are the political leanings of the member nations. So that has been there has been a beginning in that the Interpol, along with a few member countries, they have begun what is known as a joint action. A joint action is when, let us say, the CBI takes action in India, the FBI takes action in the US, the Australian police takes action in Australia. So the international members of all of them get raided or acted upon simultaneously. So this is a beginning, and it is at least a beginning that in such crimes, which are crimes against humanity and the vulnerable factions, there is a consensus which is happening. In October 2020, in fact, the FBI, in its own release, had said that for the first time there was a parallel action between the FBI and the CBI in cases of fraud against elders, which is happening in the US and India combined. Similarly, of late there have been, at least as Mr. Sena also mentioned, 2 or 3 major operations which the CBI has carried out along with the same operation being done by other member states. So at least if there is a beginning, maybe who knows, some steps will be taken forward. I am optimistic that despite the difficulties which are there of the nation-state boundaries, pure police, law enforcement, professional exchange of information is what would be a very positive thing in the forthcoming General Assembly session in Delhi.
Mr. Sena, a quick comment from you also. Are you as optimistic as Mr. Shukla is that perhaps we are in the right direction, something worthwhile would really emerge from the General Assembly?
Absolutely, I'm in complete agreement. Let me tell you, this kind of database sharing which is there, and with the kind of the climate which has built in now, which has come about, there's everything that we should be positive about. Let's say I can take a second and I'll expand on what Mr. Shukla was saying about exploitation and human trafficking. There is this database on the information system, that is the ICSA, about the child sexual exploitation and abuses, where there is the images and the videos which are part of the database, and that is made available to the investigative agencies, to the law enforcement agencies, and that is an important tool which comes very handy when we are investigating cases. Now, that was just one example, a very small example. Similarly, financial crimes, similarly, capacity building programs, like as I mentioned earlier, that CBI has a full-fledged training academy, and in the capacity building programs, they have been helping the member nations. CBI has been helping the member nations and reach their capacity as far as the investigation of crimes is concerned, as for both crime, special crime cases and corruption cases, financial crimes that are. So I would think that when the cooperation is forthcoming from the member states and when the Interpol is meeting to discuss the future of the policing, they have to devote some time towards building an ecosystem which is people-centric and which is conducive for the growth of all the member nations. It's not that only particular member nations have to prosper and they only can have their environment secure for their people. The safety and security across the globe, across the geographical, geopolitical contours is very, very important. And there, I have reasons to be optimistic because this Interpol General Assembly is happening here in India during the Amrit Kal, and let's not forget that the 5 pledges which was announced by the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister. The first one is about developed India, and it is in this context that I had mentioned that I see this Interpol conference. And the 5th one, the duties, the primacy accorded to the duties. And it is for the international criminal police community to think about the duties which they have to perform in securing and ensuring safety of the people or the member nations.
One final comment that I would like to get in from is Dr. Raghavan. Dr. Raghavan, you're known for not mincing your words, and in fact, one will never forget the headline of one of your columns that Interpol can't get us Dawood. It almost became a viral. Given to you at this point in time, Dr. Raghavan, what is it that you would like to see in this General Assembly? Something very constructive, and what is it that you would like to send across in terms of a message?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm amused that I have presented all the time a very cynical image. Yes, I'm not all that cynical. I'm slightly optimistic also. This General Assembly session in Delhi could make a difference, and I'm hoping that the Prime Minister himself will address it sometime. I don't know. I'm just indulging in some guesswork. If a person of the eminence of a Prime Minister addresses and tells us what we in India want, just a chance that message will be carried by all the delegates back to their countries, and an international that will provide the basic infrastructure or the basis for building a consensus among at least the important nations in the world. Because without such an active role for the Interpol, it cannot be construed, or it can be used as more than an information exchange forum. So this is what irks me badly, and I'm hoping that this session in Delhi will be a landmark session where persons of the eminence of a Prime Minister, if they address, then there could be a rethinking on the part of many of the countries which refuse to go an extra mile to help member nations which are desperately in need of apprehending important criminals who have fled the countries of origin and are providing a wrong example to future criminals.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on this broadcast. Special thanks to Mr. Shukla, Mr. Sena, and Dr. Raghavan for sparing some time and shedding light on several myths as far as the functioning of Interpol is concerned. One would really be hoping that this session, this General Assembly being hosted by India, turns out to become a landmark one, and hoping that India really benefits from the international cooperation. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena by-polls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaia has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Ahead of the Interpol General Assembly, Interpol Secretary General Jurgen Stock has spoken for the first time on Indian television. With over 40 years of policing experience, Mr. Stock has played a pivotal role in establishing 3 global programs to guide all Interpol's policing activities, starting from counter-terrorism to cyber crime. Thank you very much, Mr. Stock, for speaking to Republic TV. Let me straight away dive in by asking you, Interpol is moving into the centenary next year. How much has Interpol achieved since its creation nearly 100 years ago?
So, where to begin? Interpol provides a unique global platform for law enforcement cooperation across our 195 member countries. Our 19 global databases put 126 million records at the fingertips of police around the world. These databases are searched more than 20 million times each day, which equates to around 250 searches per second. We have assisted our member countries locate and arrest tens of thousands of fugitives and helped identify thousands of child abuse victims. And importantly, since crimes evolve, we keep an eye on the future through research and development in international crime and trends. As we move into our centenary next year, I'm sure that we will continue to see even greater achievements with the support of our membership.
Well, a lot is spoken about the challenges faced by Interpol. Many a times there is perception about Interpol which perhaps may not be true. Many do not even understand the true functioning of Interpol. How does it really operate and what are the challenges? Hence, I'm asking you this question as to how do you essentially plan to tackle the challenges arising out of lack of diplomatic relations between its members?
Interpol enables police to work directly with their counterparts, even and especially between countries which do not have diplomatic relations. Ensuring that Interpol's activities remain in line with our key principles of neutrality and independence is fundamental. And as Secretary General, these are elements I am committed to upholding, as without which international police cooperation could simply not continue. Every police officer in the world knows that in our line of work, you never know who holds the next piece of information you need to save the next life or prevent a terrorist attack. Similarly, any criminal cartel or terrorist network will exploit any gaps in police cooperation, so we cannot afford to have kind of black holes. It is precisely our effort in supporting international police cooperation, especially where diplomatic relations do not exist, which makes Interpol a vital part of global security.
Well, this brings me to the other question, that there has always been an area of concern for the Interpol. Crime of terrorism is outside Interpol's constitutional scope. So how does one bridge the gap in order to improve the scope of functioning?
In fact, terrorism is one of our three main crime programs, the other two being cybercrime and organized and emerging crime. Terrorism encompasses a range of complex threats, so Interpol's focus remains on three key areas: identifying suspects, preventing terrorist travel, and tracing their finances. This is another reason why our neutrality is essential and why Interpol's role in combating terrorism is enshrined in numerous United Nations Security Council resolutions. Interpol was the first international organization to develop and implement a military-to-police information exchange model, putting information from conflict zones into the hands of law enforcement officers. We help countries share biometric data on foreign terrorist fighters and other terrorist suspects, as well as conduct checks against our facial recognition system and DNA and fingerprint databases. Our stolen and lost travel documents database helps countries identify individuals attempting to travel on a fake passport, for example. And in terms of terrorist financing, we work with a number of bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force, the Egmont Group, and financial intelligence units to help drive high-level policies and cooperation to counter terrorist financing.
With every passing day, the nature of the crime across the globe is changing, sometimes very rapidly. What does future policing look like in the wake of new challenges?
Today, we are witnessing unprecedented complexity in our criminal threat landscape, added to which COVID-19 triggered unprecedented opportunistic and predatory criminal behavior. Cybercrime stands, without a doubt, as one of the most challenging and fastest growing criminal threats faced by the international community. The threat is severe, far-reaching, and by definition, borderless. There are gaps in law enforcement cyber capacity across regions. Investigating cybercrime requires specific skills and technology which many countries do not possess. Again, this is where Interpol provides assistance and equally as important, training. By increasing the capacity of our member countries to prevent, detect, investigate, and disrupt cybercrimes, we can help protect communities.
Well, coming to Interpol's relation with India. In fact, India has been grappling with growing number of economic fugitives. How do you think Interpol can perhaps improve its working with India to help counter this?
Our cooperation with India is already extremely strong. What is important to remember, especially with fugitive investigations, is these individuals are actively trying to avoid arrest. This often means fugitives deliberately travel to countries which have no extradition treaty with India or use their illicit gains to hide. In fact, depriving criminals of their ill-gotten gains is a key area for action, especially as less than 1% of global illicit financial flows are intercepted and recovered, which of course inversely means that nearly 99% of stolen assets remain in criminal hands. The tracing, seizure and confiscation of criminal assets should be a priority for all countries, and Interpol stands ready to provide any and all assistance.
In fact, India has played an active role in Interpol. How do you see the contribution that India has made to Interpol, keeping in mind in the last few months we've seen several big operations that were carried out here in India with the help of Interpol?
India is one of our most active and engaged member countries. Through the Central Bureau of Investigation, we see extremely high levels of cooperation in combating all crime types. A recent example is the successful Operation Garuda, which resulted in the seizure of large amounts of drugs and a significant number of arrests. What is equally as important, these operations identify further links between organized crime groups, which will no doubt result in more arrests and seizures in the future. And I was delighted when earlier this year India became the 68th country to connect to our international child sexual exploitation database. This is another demonstration of India's strong commitment to global law enforcement cooperation and their efforts to protect the most vulnerable members of society. These are just two examples of the kind of leadership in law enforcement shown by India and why New Delhi is the ideal location to bring together police chiefs from around the world for our Interpol General Assembly.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose a new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena by-polls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaia has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath, Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls. Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
Thanks for tuning in this Sunday evening. We are live and breaking. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Let's get started with the top headlines this Sunday evening. Big huddle in team Uddhav and Shinde. Hectic back-to-back meetings. Uddhav to address at 6 p.m.
उद्धव जी ठाकरे साहब ने 3 चुनाव चिन्ह दिए, उसमें से पहला है त्रिशूल, दूसरा है हमारा मशाल और तीसरा है उगता हुआ सूरज.
Inside details of Uddhav camp meet, 3 symbols and 3 party names under consideration. Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's camp meets to discuss legal options on Sena symbol issue. Another meet at 7 p.m. today. Prime Minister Modi lands in Ahmedabad on a 3-day visit to Gujarat, set to launch development projects worth 14,500 crore rupees. After Nitish Kumar denies Prashant Kishor's statement, Kishor hits back with ages catching up with Nitish Shai. Fresh escalation between Russia and Ukraine. Latter claims over a dozen killed in missile strike. And tracking closely Prime Minister's visit to Polbound, Gujarat, we understand that the Prime Minister has reached Modera, Gujarat on a 3-day visit. He's all set to inaugurate development projects amounting to 14,500 crore rupees in the state. Remember, Gujarat is all set to go for polls, and Prime Minister there sounding the poll bugle after he's landed in Ahmedabad. He is on a 3-day visit to the state, set to launch multiple projects.
અને ફરી આ સ્વાગતના સહભાગી બનશો. દૂધસાગર ડેરીના આગેવાનો તરફથી આ વિશેષ રૂપે સ્વાગત અભિવાદન. ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર અને ફરી એકવાર સરહૃદય સ્વાગત. ધન્યવાદ. ફરી એકવાર સરહૃદય સ્વાગત માનનીય પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી સાથે સર્વે મહાનુભાવોનું. ગુજરાતની જન સુખાકારી માટે જેઓ છે સતત અવિરત કાર્યરત, તે છે આપણા લોકલાડીલા મુખ્યમંત્રી શ્રી ભૂપેન્દ્રભાઈ પટેલ. આપ સૌની તાળીઓના ગર્જન સાથે તેઓને આમંત્રિત કરીએ છીએ તેઓના પ્રસંગોચિત ઉદ્બોધન માટે.
ઉત્તર ગુજરાત મહેસાણા ખાતે ભારતનું સૌ પ્રથમ સતત સૌર ઉર્જાથી સંચાલિત મોઢેરા સૂર્યગ્રામનું રાષ્ટ્રપરણ તથા કુલ રૂપિયા 3092 કરોડની વધુના વિવિધ જન સુખાકારી કાર્યોના ખાતમુહૂર્ત તથા લોકાર્પણ પ્રસંગે આપણે સૌની સાથે મંચ ઉપર ઉપસ્થિત પોતાના માદરે વતનમાં વિકાસના કામોની ભેટ આપવા પધારેલા દેશના સર્વાંગી વિકાસના રાહબર કરોડો દેશવાસીઓનું ગૌરવ એવા આપણા આદરણીય પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદી સાહેબ, નવસારીના સાંસદ તથા યશસ્વી પ્રદેશ અધ્યક્ષ શ્રી સી આર પાટીલજી, મારા સરકારમાં સાથી મંત્રી શ્રી ઋષિકેશભાઈ પટેલ, શ્રી રાઘવજીભાઈ પટેલ, શ્રી કનુભાઈ પટેલ, શ્રી જગદીશભાઈ વિશ્વકર્મા, જીતુભાઈ ચૌધરી, શ્રી મુકેશભાઈ પટેલ, શ્રી નિમિષાબેન સુથાર, શ્રી અરવિંદભાઈ રયાણી, સાંસદ શ્રી શારદાબેન પટેલ, શ્રી ભરતભાઈ ડાભી, શ્રી જુગલજી લોખંડવાલા, પૂર્વ મુખ્યમંત્રી તથા મહેસાણાના ધારાસભ્ય શ્રી નીતિનભાઈ પટેલ, ધારાસભ્ય શ્રી રમણભાઈ પટેલ, અજમલજીભાઈ ઠાકોર, જિલ્લા પંચાયતના પ્રમુખ શ્રી પ્રહલાદભાઈ પરમાર, દૂધસાગર ડેરીના ચેરમેન શ્રી અશોકભાઈ પટેલ, સંગઠનના સૌ પદાધિકારીશ્રીઓ, ઉપસ્થિત સૌ અધિકારીગણ, વિશાળ સંખ્યામાં ઉપસ્થિત સૌ નાગરિક ભાઈઓ બહેનો, પ્રેસ મીડિયાના મિત્રો, સૌને મારા નમસ્કાર. શરદ પૂર્ણિમાના પાવન અવસરે ઐતિહાસિક વિકાસ કામોની ભેટ આપવા પધારેલા દેશના યશસ્વી પ્રધાનમંત્રી આદરણીય શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદી સાહેબનો આ તબક્કે હું ખૂબ ખૂબ હૃદયથી
Narendra Modi, we are going to be launching several projects towards cause of peace, and I welcome Narendra Modi to Gujarat.
ભારતના યશસ્વી વડાપ્રધાન અને ઉત્તર ગુજરાતની આ ધરતીના સપૂત આદરણીય શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદી આજે 31 કરોડ રૂપિયાના બહુવિધ વિકાસ કામોની ભેટ આ ધરાને આપવા પધાર્યા છે. આજે શરદ પૂર્ણિમાના ઉત્સવ છે અને ગુજરાતમાં તો આદરણીય શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદીના દિશા દર્શનમાં વિકાસનો ચંદ્ર 16 કળાએ ખીલ્યો છે. ગુજરાતથી દેશને વિકાસની રાજનીતિનો નવો રાહ ચિંધનાર વિકાસ પુરુષ આદરણીય શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈએ સુશાસનને એક એવી પરંપરા વિકસાવી છે કે જેના ખાતમુહૂર્ત થાય તેના લોકાર્પણ પણ તેમના જ કાર્યકાળમાં થયા છે. સમયબદ્ધ, પારદર્શી અને પ્રજાના પૈસાના પૂરેપૂરા સદુપયોગ દ્વારા રૂપિયા સામે સવા રૂપિયાનું કામ ગુજરાતમાં તેમના નેતૃત્વમાં થઈ રહ્યું છે. આજે ઉત્તર ગુજરાતને આંગણે વિવિધ કામોના લોકાર્પણને ખાતમુહૂર્તથી એ વાત સાકાર થઈ રહી છે. વિકાસની પહેલી શરત વીજળી અને પાણી છે. આદરણીય શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈએ 2001માં ગુજરાતનું શાસન દાયિત્વ સંભાળ્યું ત્યારે પૂરતું પાણી, પર્યાપ્ત વીજળી મળે તેના પર ધ્યાન કેન્દ્રિત કર્યું. એક સમય હતો કે ગુજરાતમાં વીજળીના ધાંધિયા હતા, ખેડૂતોને લંગડી વીજળી મળતી. શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈએ પણ લોકોએ રજૂઆત કરી કે સાહેબ વાળું ટાણે વીજળી મળે તેવું કાંઈક કરજો. આદરણીય નરેન્દ્રભાઈ પ્રજાની પીડા પારખીને એનું સમાધાન લાવનાર જુજાળુ નેતા છે. એમણે રાજ્યના સમગ્ર વીજ તંત્રમાં બદલાવની શરૂઆત કરી. જે સમયે દેશમાં સોલર એનર્જી, સૂર્ય ઉર્જાની વાતો થતી ત્યારે તેમણે બનાસકાંઠાના ચારણકામાં એશિયાના વિશાળ સોલર એનર્જી પાર્કની સ્થાપના કરી.
When the meeting was discussing solar power, Prime Minister and the Chief Minister did got the biggest solar power setup in Charanka in Banaskara district in North Gujarat as Chief Minister.
એ મોઢેરા ગામને આજે સોલર ઉર્જા સંચાલિત વીજળી 24/7 મળતી થઈ છે.
Today, by his inspiration, this village is going to be 100% solar power driven.
અને ગામના દરેક ઘર ઉપર સોલાર રૂફટોપથી સૂર્ય ઉર્જા મળતી થઈ છે અને નેટ રિન્યુએબલ એનર્જી ઉત્પન્ન કરનાર ગામનું ગૌરવ મેળવશે.
It's a net non-renewable energy producing village now. every rooftop in every home in the village has a solar panel supplying to the grid that supplies to the village.
હેરિટેજ લાઇટિંગ શો પણ વડાપ્રધાન શ્રી શરૂ કરવાના છે. આદરણીય
Prime
વડાપ્રધાન
Minister will also inaugurate the heritage component of the Modera temple complex.
નવતર આયોજનથી દેશમાં રિન્યુએબલ એનર્જીના સ્ત્રોત વિકસાવવામાં આવી રહ્યા છે. કચ્છમાં આપણે તેમના જ માર્ગદર્શનમાં સૌથી મોટો 30,000 મેગાવોટનો હાઇબ્રિડ એનર્જી પાર્ક સ્થાપિત કરવાની કાર્યવાહી પૂરજોશમાં
In Kutch also, the Gujarat government has set up 20,000 megawatt capacity hybrid power plant.
બન્યું છે. રાજ્યમાં પાછલા 2 દાયકામાં સ્થાપિત ક્ષમતામાં
Within the broad
31,000
guidelines given by the Prime
મેગાવોટનો થયો
Minister.
છે. સોલર એનર્જીમાં તો વડાપ્રધાનશ્રીના નેતૃત્વમાં આપણે ઇતિહાસ સર્જ્યો છે. 20 વર્ષમાં 7,180 મેગાવોટ ઉત્પાદન ક્ષમતા આપણી વધી છે. આદરણીય વડાપ્રધાનશ્રીએ સુજલામ સુફલામ યોજના, નેટવર્ક અને નર્મદા આધારિત પાણી પુરવઠા યોજનાઓ, બલ્ક પાઇપલાઇનથી ઉત્તર ગુજરાતમાં પાણી પહોંચાડવાની અને પાણીદાર ગુજરાત
Giving a list of projects, schemes, and all the work that has been done in the power sector, in the renewable energy power sector, in the irrigation sector.
લોકાર્પણ કરવાના છે. સાથે સાથે રૂપિયા 40 કરોડની વડનગર ખેલારૂ ગેરાઈ ધરોઈ ગ્રુપ પાણી પુરવઠા યોજના પણ
and various projects that are seen completed.
તાપી સુધી જ ઔદ્યોગિક વિકાસ થયો હતો. આદરણીય શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈએ પાણી, વીજળી, સ્કિલ વર્કફોર્સ માટેની જરૂરી સુવિધાઓ પ્રોત્સાહન આપી અને વાઇબ્રન્ટ સમિટની સફળ શ્રેણીઓ યોજીને ઉત્તર ગુજરાતને પણ ઔદ્યોગિક ક્ષેત્રે અગ્રેસર કર્યું છે. બેચરાજી, મોઢેરા, હાંસલપુર, માંડલનો પટ્ટો સૂકો ભંટ અને બાવળિયાવાળો હતો. આજે આ આખો વિસ્તાર ઓટોમોબાઈલ હબ તરીકે મારુતિ સુઝુકી મોટર્સ, હોન્ડા મોટર્સ અને એવા કેટલાય ઉદ્યોગોથી ધમધમે છે અને ઉત્તર ગુજરાતના યુવાનોને રોજગારીની તકો પૂરી પાડે છે. એટલું જ નહીં, નાના મોટા એન્સિલરી ઉદ્યોગથી સ્વરોજગારી પણ પૂરી પાડી રહ્યું છે. ડબલ એન્જિન સરકારને પરિણામે ગુજરાતમાં રેલ લાઇનના ગેજ રૂપાંતરણ, નવી રેલ લાઇનની
Gujarat is seeing the benefits of double Indian government.
વિસ્તૃતીકરણ વગેરેના કામો મોટા પાયે થઈ રહ્યા છે. આજે એ દિશામાં વધુ ભેટ વડાપ્રધાન લાઇનના ગેજ કન્વર્ઝનના રૂપિયા 511 કરોડના કામો અને વિવિધ માર્ગોના વિસ્તૃતીકરણના રૂપિયા 48 કરોડના કામો આપવાના છે. સોશિયલ ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચરના કામોની સાથે ડેરી ઉદ્યોગને વધુ વેગ આપતા તેમજ મોઢેરા સૂર્ય મંદિરના પ્રવાસન ધામ તરીકે વિકસાવવાના કામોની ભેટ પણ આ ધરતીના પનોતા પુત્ર નરેન્દ્રભાઈ આપણને આપવાના છે. ગુજરાતનો સર્વગ્રાહી વિકાસ સુરતની જેમ ઝળહળે છે. વડાપ્રધાનશ્રીના નેતૃત્વમાં આપણે ગુજરાતની વિકાસ યાત્રા હજુ ખૂબ આગળ લઈ જવાની છે. આઝાદીના અમૃત મહોત્સવે આત્મનિર્ભર અને વિકસિત ગુજરાતના નિર્માણથી આત્મનિર્ભર અને વિકસિત ભારતના નિર્માણમાં યોગદાન આપવાનું છે. ઉત્તમ ગુજરાતને સર્વોત્તમ ગુજરાત બનાવવાનો અમૃતકાળ આવ્યો છે. તે સૌ સાથે મળીને સાકાર કરીશું એવા વડાપ્રધાનશ્રીને વિશ્વાસ આપી વિરમું છું. ભારત માતા કી જય. વંદે માતરમ. જય જય ગરવી ગુજરાત.
ખૂબ 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 આભાર માન્ય મુખ્યમંત્રી શ્રી આપના ઉત્સાહવર્ધક સંબોધન માટે. ગુજરાતની અલૌકિક ધરતીનો સ્વર્ણિમ ઇતિહાસ છે. તેની સ્વર્ણિમતાને બરકરાર રાખી તેની મહત્તાને વિકાસના માર્ગો પર આગળ ધપાવતા આજે ગુજરાતની ચારેય દિશાઓમાં ફેલાઈ રહ્યો છે સૂર્યના અજવાળા.
So, Prime Minister there all set to inaugurate projects worth 14,500 crore rupees in Gujarat ahead of the votes. And getting in the big breaking news right now, AAP Delhi Minister Rajendrapal Gautam has now tendered his resignation. This of course comes after that video that went viral where the AAP Mantri was seen making provocative statements and in which he had said that asking people to take pledge to not have faith in any Hindu deity. And we have our executive editor for politics, Ishwarya Kapoor, also joining us. Ishwarya, we are given to understand that the AAP minister has been forced to resign, or has he done this willfully after that video surfaced of him asking people to not have faith in Hindu deities?
Kejriwal government was not taking any action against this minister. It was just not about any other viral video. He was raising questions on the existence of Hindu gods, of Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and everyone. And there was no action. Arvind Kejriwal sensed that it is going to be a big issue in Gujarat elections, and hence today that resignation has happened. It's under pressure. It's not at all willful. It's under pressure because Arvind Kejriwal understood that in Gujarat, BJP is not going to let it go as any other political party wouldn't have. Because the kind of statements which were made in his presence, and when Republic confronted him, when our colleague Anuj asked him, he said that there is nothing wrong in raising question on existence of Hindu gods, of Lord Rama and Lord Krishna. BJP is still saying that even this action is not enough. They want Arvind Kejriwal, and Arvind Kejriwal understands that in Gujarat elections, this is going to be a very big issue. And yes, that is the reason why we saw Arvind Kejriwal mentioning it yesterday, that he was born on Janmashtami, he is a Pakka Hanuman Bhakt, and then so on and so forth. Because the kind of statements which were made in presence of the former AAP minister were very serious, were very sensitive as well, because he was raising questions on existence of Hindu gods and then was backing it, and no action was being taken by the Aam Aadmi Party over it, and hence he has been forced to resign. Let there be no doubt about it. It is not a willful resignation. He has been forced to resign because Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party has understood that this has already snowballed into a big, not only a controversy, but an issue.
Well, absolutely, Ishwarya.
Yes. No religion,
Yes, and the very fact that the apology that is also coming from him seems very shallow. He said that the BJP is trying to peddle a false narrative when we have on record the kind of statements he had made in that particular event.
Well, we need to understand that when questions are being raised on existence of Hindu gods, and if the party wants to back him, then it was their choice. They did it for 48 hours. And it's only under pressure because Republic was the first to confront the minister and ask him, are you ready to apologize? Do you understand what kind of a grave mistake you've done? And he said, no, I've not done anything wrong and I will repeat it. That is what he said on camera. He said that he has done nothing wrong. No religion.
Yes.
No religion allows you to comment on other religion or their deity. No
yes. Ishwarya, just hold your thoughts there. Sorry, I'll have to interrupt you for a moment. We have BJP's Gaurav Bhatia also joining us. Sir, we understand that the AAP minister has been forced to resign after, of course, there was a lot of furor with the kind of statements he had made at this particular event.
See, this comes too late and it's too little. And the reason is very simple. As the Bharatiya Janata Party has said, that minister is only a pawn. The poison comes from the poison producing factory Arvind Kejriwal. Arvind Kejriwal has not sacked the minister from his party. He remains a member of the Aam Aadmi Party because he was only carrying out the directions of Arvind Kejriwal. And second, why has Arvind Kejriwal not apologized so far? This case.
And sir, we understand that Rajendra Pal Gautam has also tendered an apology saying and even alleging that the BJP is spreading false rumours about him. Well, we'll try and connect with Gaurav Bhatia again, but that's the response coming in from the BJP, questioning as to why there has been no apology from the AAP as of now. Remember, there's been no official stand of the AAP till now. We have VHP leader Vinod Bansal also joining us. Sir, if I can get your reaction, we understand that the AAP minister has now resigned. This, of course, after these statements that were made by him provoked the sentiments of people.
Actually, the mere resolution will, the resignation will not work
the Arvind Kejriwal has to apologize to the nation and the Hindu community the way they have insulted our gods and goddesses. और जिस तरह से वो बार बार जो है मंदिर मंदिर जाकर के और घोषणा कर रहे हैं, एक तरफ जब दिवाली होती है तो भगवान गणेश और लक्ष्मी जी के पूजन का आह्वान करते हैं और दूसरी तरफ वहीं गणेश जी के पूजन न करने के लिए इनके मंत्री और ये जो कद्दावर नेता हैं वो लोगों को शपथ दिलाते हैं। सिर्फ रेजिग्नेशन से काम नहीं चलेगा, इनको सार्वजनिक रूप से माफी मांगनी पड़ेगी और आम आदमी पार्टी को इस बात के लिए कहना पड़ेगा आखिरकार ये किनके साथ खड़े हुए हैं। हमें इस बात पर आपत्ति नहीं है कि कोई बहुत मत ग्रहण कर रहा है कि कोई दूसरा, लेकिन हमारी आपत्ति है कि सार्वजनिक रूप से सार्वजनिक मंच से एक कद्दावर नेता अगर इस तरह से शपथ ग्रहण कराएगा और हिंदू देवी देवताओं के विरुद्ध विस्फोमन करेगा, ये हिंदू समाज कदापि स्वीकार नहीं करेगा। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को सार्वजनिक रूप से माफी मांगनी पड़ेगी और इसको तुरंत इसके खिलाफ पुलिस एक्शन ले और साथ ही साथ इसको पार्टी से बाहर निष्कासित किया जाए। ये इसके बिना काम नहीं चलेगा और ये जो मंदिर मंदिर जाने की जो अपनी जो ढकोसला है उसको बंद करें। भगवान में आस्था व्यक्त करने का ये तरीका नहीं है कि आप सार्वजनिक रूप से देवी देवताओं का मजाक उड़ाओ या उनके विरुद्ध जो विस्फोमन करो। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी जिस तरह से लगातार जो है जब भी चुनाव आते हैं तो चुनावी हिंदू बन जाते हैं और उसके बाद इन्हीं के बड़े बड़े नेता जो है हिंदू समाज के प्रति किस तरह का विस्फोमन करते हैं, इस्लामिक जिहादियों के साथ किस तरह से खड़े रहते हैं और स्वयं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी आतंकवादियों के साथ और ये जो
And also, sir, Rajendra Pal Gautam says that he had no intention to hurt the religious sentiments of people, and all of this is a false narrative that is being peddled by the BJP.
No, whatever narrative being told, and who have given this, who is propagating this narrative, who has given that place before the thousands of people of this national capital. आप देखिए कि ये किसी दूसरे के सिर पर ठीकरा नहीं फोड़ सकते, ये खुद उसमें शपथ ग्रहण समारोह में थे और वहाँ पे शपथ क्या दिलवाई जा रही थी, उनको पता नहीं है।
No, but now, sir, Aam Aadmi Party is saying that the minister has resigned. Issue is resolved. How can the issue be resolved?
No, not at all. Not at all. It cannot be resolved. This cannot be resolved. आप देखिए जिस तरह से हमारे देवी देवताओं के विरुद्ध विस्फोमन किया गया हजारों लोगों के बीच में, ये ठीक नहीं है। महात्मा बुद्ध भी आज रो रहे होंगे। ये मैंने ऐसे कैसे
कह रहा हूँ सर, 48 घंटे तक कोई एक्शन नहीं लिया गया। जब उस मंत्री से रिपब्लिक के हमारे साथी अनुज ने पूछा तो उन्होंने बोला कि उन्होंने कुछ गलत नहीं किया, और अब जब उन्हें गुजरात जाके पॉलिटिक्स समझ आ रही है और समझ आ रहा है कि बीजेपी इसको बहुत एक बड़ा इशू बना देगी, तो उन्होंने उनसे जबरदस्ती रिजाइन करा लिया। लेकिन क्या इस देश में सब कुछ राजनीति के लिए होगा? और मतलब हिंदू भगवानों के अस्तित्व पर सवाल उठा दिया, ऑन द एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ लॉर्ड राम एंड लॉर्ड कृष्णा।
डेफिनेटली मैं कहता हूँ एक तरफ तो ये जो है ढकोसला कर रहे हैं, कभी हम भगवान गणेश की लक्ष्मी जी की पूजा करेंगे, आओ मेरे साथ पूजा करो, और दूसरी तरफ इन्हीं के मंत्री कहते हैं कि नहीं मैं उनको मानता ही नहीं, मैं मानूंगा नहीं। ये इस तरह की बातें करना, ये इनकी दोहरा चरित्र और ये इनका चुनावी चेहरा नजर आता है। अब जनता इनके झांसे में नहीं आने वाली। जिस तरह से इन्होंने कहा था कि जब पॉलिटिक्स में आए थे तो कहा था कि हम सांप्रदायिक राजनीति नहीं करेंगे, हम जातिवाद, क्षेत्रवाद, भाषावाद और ये जो सांप्रदायिकता की राजनीति में विश्वास नहीं करते, और हम राजधानी को शराब मुक्त बनाएंगे, और उनके उलट इन्होंने काम किया। आप देखिए राजधानी के हर व्यक्ति को शराबी बनाने की कोशिश करी, हर व्यक्ति को जो हिंदुद्रोही बनाने की कोशिश करी, मुस्लिम जिहादी तुष्टीकरण और ईसाई मिशनरियों को पालने पोषने बड़ा करने का काम किसने किया? आप देखिए कि मदरसों को और मस्जिद के मुअज्जिमों को और उनको मौलवियों को तनख्वाह देने का काम किसने किया? ये सब चीजें इनकी सारी राजनीतिक कलई खुल चुकी है। अब ये मंदिर जाकर के अपने पापों का प्रायश्चित नहीं कर सकते। इनको सार्वजनिक रूप से माफी मांगनी पड़ेगी। हिंदू समाज इनको कदापि स्वीकार नहीं करेगा ऐसी चीजों को। इन्होंने बहुत
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। जी बिल्कुल, मैं आपकी भावनाएं समझ रहा हूँ। So absolutely, at this point of time, when and under pressure, Arvind Kejriwal has taken forced resignation of his minister. Now BJP says, and we have been told that BJP is not going to let this issue die. BJP says they want an explanation from the chief minister himself that why no action was taken for 48 hours. And is it only under political pressure? Only because in Gujarat he felt that this is going to snowball into a very big issue that he has taken forcible resignation of this controversial minister, because that minister himself said that he has done nothing wrong. Back to you in the studio.
Well, absolutely, Ishwarya. Thank you for the moments. Of course, the statements by the AAP minister, who has now tendered his resignation, created massive outrage, where he'd asked people to not have faith in any Hindu deity, asking people to not have faith in Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. And that had, in fact, triggered religious sentiments of the people as well. Remember, anti-Kejriwal posters were also put up in Gujarat's Rajkot. So massive outrage being seen after days after those statements were made by the AAP leader. So BJP also there demanding stern action and asking as to why there has been no official statement or a word of condemnation by the AAP till now. The latest what we're given to understand that the AAP leader has finally been forced to resign. And slipping into a very short break for now. On the other side, we'll continue with our live coverage and more reactions on this big story coming in. The AAP minister who's now finally resigned. Also closely tracking all the updates coming in from Gujarat. Prime Minister in Modera all set to inaugurate several development projects.
आज मोढेरा के लिए, महसाणा के लिए और पूरे नॉर्थ गुजरात के लिए विकास की नई ऊर्जा का संचार हुआ है। बिजली, पानी से लेकर रोड, रेल तक, डेयरी से लेकर कौशल विकास और स्वास्थ्य से जुड़े अनेक प्रोजेक्ट्स का आज लोकार्पण और शिलान्यास हुआ है। हजारों करोड़ रुपए से अधिक के ये प्रोजेक्ट्स रोजगार के नए अवसर पैदा करेंगे, किसानों और पशुपालकों की आय बढ़ाने में मदद करेंगे और इस पूरे क्षेत्र में हेरिटेज टूरिज्म से जुड़ी सुविधाओं को भी विस्तार देंगे। आप सभी को इन विकास परियोजनाओं के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई। ये मेहराना वालों ने राम राम। आज जब हम भगवान सूर्य के धाम मोढेरा में हैं, तो ये सुखद संयोग है कि आज शरद पूर्णिमा भी है। साथ ही आज महर्षि वाल्मीकि जी की जयंती का पावन अवसर भी है। यानी एक प्रकार से त्रिवेणी संगम हो गया है। आज महर्षि वाल्मीकि ने हमें भगवान राम के समरस जीवन के दर्शन करवाए, समानता का संदेश दिया। आप सभी को, पूरे देश को शरद पूर्णिमा और वाल्मीकि जयंती की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। भाई और बहनों, बीते कुछ दिनों से आप लगातार देखते होंगे टीवी में, अखबारों में, सोशल मीडिया में सूर्यग्राम को लेकर के, मोढेरा को लेकर के पूरे देश में चर्चा चल पड़ी है। कोई कहता है कभी सोचा नहीं था कि सपना हमारी आंखों के सामने साकार हो सकता है। आज सपना सिद्ध होता देख रहे हैं। कोई कहता है कि हमारी चीर पुरातन आस्था और आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी मानो एक नया संगम नजर आ रहा है, नया संगम नजर आ रहा है। कोई इसे भविष्य के स्मार्ट गुजरात, स्मार्ट भारत की झलक बता रहा है। ये आज हम सभी के लिए, पूरे महसाणा, पूरे गुजरात के लिए गौरव का पल लेकर के आया है। હું જરા મોઢે વાળાને પૂછું, ચાણસમા વાળાને પૂછું કે મહેસાણા વાળાને પૂછું, તમે મને કહો આનાથી તમારું માથું ઊંચું થયું કે ના થયું? માથું ગર્વથી ઊંચું થયું કે ના થયું? તમને પોતાને જીવનમાં કઈ તમારી સામે થઈ રહ્યાનો આનંદ આવ્યો કે ના આવ્યો? पहले दुनिया मोढेरा को सूर्य मंदिर की वजह से जानती थी, लेकिन अब मोढेरा के सूर्य मंदिर से प्रेरणा लेकर के मोढेरा सूर्यग्राम भी बन सकता है। ये दोनों एक साथ दुनिया में पहचाने जाएंगे और मोढेरा पर्यावरणवादियों के लिए दुनिया के मैप पर अपनी जगह बना लेगा। दोस्तों, साथियों, गुजरात का यही तो सामर्थ्य है जो आज मोढेरा में नजर आ रहा है, वो गुजरात के हर कोने में मौजूद है। कौन भूल सकता है ये मोढेरा के सूर्य मंदिर को ध्वस्त करने के लिए, उसको मिट्टी में मिलाने के लिए आक्रांताओं ने क्या कुछ नहीं किया था। यही मोढेरा जिस पर भांति भांति के अनगिनत अत्याचार हुए थे, आज अब अपनी पौराणिकता के साथ आधुनिकता के लिए दुनिया के लिए मिसाल बन रहा है। भविष्य में जब भी सोलर पावर को लेकर के बात होगी, જ્યારે પણ દુનિયામાં સૌર ઉર્જાની વાત થશે એટલે મોઢેરા પહેલું નામ દેખાશે। કારણ અહીંયા બધું જ સૌર ઉર્જાથી, સોલર પાવરથી ચાલી રહ્યું છે। घर की रोशनी हो, खेतीबाड़ी की जरूरत हो, यहां तक कि गाड़ियां, बसें भी सोलर पावर से चलने का प्रयास होगा। 21वीं सदी के आत्मनिर्भर भारत के लिए हमें अपनी ऊर्जा जरूरतों से जुड़े ऐसे ही प्रयासों को बढ़ाना है। मैं गुजरात को, देश को, हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए, आपके संतानों को सुरक्षा मिले इसलिए दिन रात मेहनत करके देश को दिशा में ले जाने का निरंतर प्रयास कर रहा हूं। અને એ દિવસ દૂર નહીં હોય જેમ મોઢેરામાં બધા ભાઈઓ હમણાં ટીવી પર મેં જોયું એમની વિડીયો, એ કહેતા હતા કે હવે તો અમારા ઘરના ઉપર જ વીજળી પેદા થાય છે અને સરકારમાંથી અમને પૈસા મળે છે। વીજળી મફત જ નહીં, વીજળીના ઉપરાંત પૈસા મળે। અહીં વીજળીનો કારખાનાનો માલિક પણ એ ઘરવાળો, કારખાનો માલિક પણ એ ખેતરવાળો અને વાપરનારો ગ્રાહક પણ એ જ। जरूरत की बिजली उपयोग करो और अतिरिक्त बिजली सरकार को बेच दो और इससे बिजली के बिल से भी छुटकारा मिलेगा। इतना ही नहीं, अब हम बिजली बेच करके कमाई करेंगे। बोलो, बे हाथ में लाडू है कि नहीं? बे हाथ में लाडू है कि नहीं? अने समाज ऊपर, प्रजा ऊपर कोई बोझ करो, वगर बोझे पण लोकोનું ભલું કરી શકાય ને, એના માટે મહેનત પડે ભાઈ। પણ આપણે તો મહેનત કરવા માટે સર્જાયા છીએ અને તમે જે સંસ્કાર આપ્યા છે, તમે જે મારું ઘડતર કર્યું છે, અને આપણો તો મહેસાણા જેવો કેવી મુસીબતમાં ગુજરનારો જિલ્લો હતો અને એમાંથી ઘડાયા હોઈએ એટલે મહેનત કરવામાં કોઈ વાર પાછી પાની કરીએ ભાઈ? कोई दी पाछी पानी करिए? साथियों, अब तक ये होता था कि सरकार बिजली पैदा करती थी और जनता खरीदती थी, लेकिन मैं उस रास्ते पर चलने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हूं। देश को भी इसके साथ जोड़ने के लिए प्रयास कर रहा हूं। मुझे आगे का रास्ता नजर आ रहा है और इसलिए ही केंद्र सरकार ये लगातार प्रयास कर रही है कि अब लोग अपने घरों में सोलर पैनल लगाएंगे, किसान अपने खेतों में बिजली पैदा करेंगे, छेड़ा ऊपर सौर पंप भी लगाएंगे। હવે તમે મને કહો, પહેલા આપણે હોર્સ પાવર માટે આંદોલન કરવા પડતા, હવે તો તમારા ખેતરના છેડે પેલી વાડ કરી કરીને 2-2 મીટર આપણે જમીન બરબાદ કરીએ છીએ, એના બદલે સોલાર પેનલ લગાવી દીધી હોય તો એ સોલારથી આપણી પંપ પણ ચાલે, ખેતરને પાણી મળે અને વધારાની વીજળી સરકાર ખરીદી જાય। તમે મને કહો કે આપણે આખું ચક્ર બદલી નાખ્યું કે નહીં ભાઈઓ? और इसके लिए सरकार सोलर पावर को बढ़ावा देने के लिए आर्थिक मदद दे रही है, लाखों सोलर पंप विस्तृत कर रही है। देश भर में આપણે ખેડૂતોની જરૂરત પ્રમાણે સૌર ઉર્જાથી ચાલતા પંપ બનાવીને ખેતરમાં પાણી સિંચવા માટે, કાઢવા માટે ઉપયોગમાં આવે એના માટે કામ કરીએ છીએ। અહીંયા આમાં બધા મને નવજવાનિયા બહુ દેખાય છે, પણ જે 20-22 વર્ષના હશે ને એમને બહુ ખબર નહીં હોય આપણા મહેસાણા જિલ્લાના હાલ કેવા હતા ભાઈ। વીજળીના બલખા પડે, વીજળી ક્યારે જાય છે નહીં, વીજળી આવી કે ના આવી એના સમાચાર આવતા હતા। અને પાણી માટે તો આપણી બેન દીકરીઓને 3-3 કિલોમીટર માથે માટલા લઈને જવું પડતું હતું। એ દિવસો ઉત્તર ગુજરાતની મારી માતાઓ, બહેનો, ઉત્તર ગુજરાતના મારા જવાનીઓએ જોયા છે દોસ્ત। આજે જે 20-22 વર્ષના દીકરા દીકરીઓ હશે ને એમને આ મુસીબતોની ખબર સુદ્ધા નહીં હોય। અહીં જે સ્કૂલ કોલેજ જવાવાળા યુવાનો છે એમને તો આ બધું સાંભળીને પણ આશ્ચર્ય તો, અચ્છા આવું હતું? સાથીઓ, આપણી કેવી દશામાં જીવતા હતા એ તો તમારા વડીલો તમે વાત કરો તો કહેશે। અનેક પ્રકારની સમસ્યાઓથી ગુજારો કરવો પડતો અને વીજળીના અભાવમાં ભણવાનું તો અત્યંત મુશ્કેલ હતું બાળકો માટે। ઘરમાં ટીવી કે પંખો તો એ દાડામાં જમાના જ નહોતા આપણે ત્યાં। સિંચાઈની વાત હોય, પઢાઈની વાત હોય કે દવાઈની વાત હોય, બધામાં મુસીબતનો અંબાર। અને એની સૌથી મોટો દુષ્પ્રભાવ આપણી દીકરીઓના શિક્ષણ પર પડતો। આપણા મહેસાણા જિલ્લાના લોકો સ્વભાવે કુદરતી ગણિત અને વિજ્ઞાનમાં એકો. તમે અમેરિકામાં જાઓ, બધા ઉત્તર ગુજરાતનો ચમકારો ત્યાં ગણિત વિજ્ઞાનના ક્ષેત્રોમાં જ દેખાય. આખા કચ્છમાં જાઓ તો મહેસાણા જિલ્લાના શિક્ષકો તમને દેખાય. કારણ આપણી પાસે કુદરતી આ સામર્થ્ય હતું, પરંતુ સંજોગ એવા વીજળી પાણી અભાવમાં જીવવાનું, એના કારણે જે ઊંચાઈઓ પર જવાનું એ પેઢીને અવસર મળવો જોઈતો નહોતો મળ્યો. આજની પેઢીને તો હું કહેવા માંગુ છું, દમ તમારામાં જોઈએ, આસમાન જેટલા અવસર ઉભા છે દોસ્ત. એટલું જ નહીં સાથીઓ, અહીં આપણે ત્યાં કાયદો વ્યવસ્થાની સ્થિતિ કેવી હતી? ઘેરથી બહાર નીકળો ને, અહીંથી અમદાવાદ જવું હોય ને તો ફોન કરીને પૂછે કે અમદાવાદમાં શાંતિ છે ને, અમારે ખરીદી કરવા આવું છે, દીકરીના લગ્ન છે. આવા દિવસો
People also may to underpass to understand if it is possible there to go.
અરે એ તો દશા એવી હતી કે છોકરું જન્મીને બોલતું થાય ને તો એને કાકા મામાના નામ ન આવડતા હોય, પણ એને પોલીસ વાળાનું નામ ખબર હોય કે ઘરની બહાર જ ઉભો હોય.
There used to be a time when there is a baby and they would first learn to
22 વર્ષનો ગુજરાતનો જવાનીઓ
learn the policeman's name and their family members' name.
કાયદો વ્યવસ્થાનું કામ આપણે ગુજરાતમાં કરી બતાવ્યું.
We can see the change over from the peace that you see here. This is the work that we have.
પરંતુ ગયા 2 દશકમાં આપે અમારામાં જે વિશ્વાસ મૂક્યો એના કારણે હિન્દુસ્તાનના પ્રમુખ રાજ્યોની અંદર પોતાનો ઝંડો ગાડીને ઉભો થઈ ગયો છે. ભાઈઓ, આ ગુજરાતનો જય જયકાર. અને એના માટે હું ગુજરાતના કરોડો ગુજરાતીઓ એમની ધીરજનો, એમના ખંતનો માથું નમાવીને આદર કરું છું. ભાઈઓ, આ તમારા પુરુષાર્થને કારણે સરકાર અને જનતા જનાર્દન મળીને આપણા અપાર વિશ્વાસને કારણે શક્ય બન્યું છે. ક્યારે આપે મારી જાત નથી જોઈ,
love from you.
ક્યારે આપે મારા રાજનીતિક જીવનને જોયું નથી.
You have not seen my political life.
મને આશીર્વાદ આપ્યા છે.
You have blindly given me your blessings.
અને તમારો માપદંડ એક જ હતો કે મારા કામને તમે જોયું.
Your yardstick was only one, that you saw my work
અને
and stamped
મારા
with
બધા
approval.
સાથીઓને તમે આશીર્વાદ આપતા રહ્યા.
And you have blessed all my colleagues as well and my team.
મારી કામ કરવાની ઈચ્છા પણ વધતી
And
જાય
as
છે.
your blessings increase, so my will to work increases, and that increases my power to deliver.
પરિવર્તન એમ જ નથી આવતું.
Friends,
એના માટે દુર્ગામી
change does
સોચ
not
જોઈએ, વિચાર
come
જોઈએ.
just like that. It takes vision.
તમે બધા લોકો સાક્ષી છો.
It takes an idea. People here in Mehsana are witness.
પંચશક્તિના આધારે
How
સમગ્ર ગુજરાતના
we
વિકાસ
together
માટેના 5 પિલર ઉભા કર્યા હતા.
created 5 pillars based on 5 elemental powers for Gujarat's development.
તમારું મોટું
When I was
બજેટ પાણી
Chief
માટે
Minister,
વાપરવું પડે છે. અમે પાણી
I would
વગર
travel all across the
મુસીબતોમાં જીવીએ છીએ. 10 વર્ષમાં 7 વર્ષ દુકાળના દિવસો અમે કાઢીએ છીએ.
For every decade or 10 years, 7 years would be drought in Gujarat.
રાજ્યોના મગજમાં તો બેસતું આટલું બધો ખર્ચો કરવો પડે છે, આટલી બધી મહેનત કરવી પડે છે. અને એટલા
And
માટે
people would
જ્યારે
think
આપણે
how much money we would need to spend.
એમાં સૌથી મોટું ફોકસ કર્યું ગુજરાત માટે. જો પાણી નહીં હોય, જો ગુજરાત પાસે વીજળી નહીં હોય તો આ ગુજરાત મેદાન થઈ જશે. બીજી જરૂરત હતી, મારે આવનારી પેઢીની ચિંતા હતી અને એના માટે શિક્ષણ,
But I was concerned about the coming generation.
સ્વાસ્થ્ય, તબિયત, એમની તંદુરસ્તી, એના માટે
And their health was my concern. And not just of the present generation, but future generations as well.
તરીકે માલ લેન આપે, પણ ગુજરાત ખેતીમાં જે પછાતપણું હતું, હિન્દુસ્તાનમાં છેલ્લા નંબરે હતા ખેતીમાં. ખેતી જો આગળ વધે તો મારું ગામડું સમૃદ્ધ થાય, અને મારું ગામડું સમૃદ્ધ થાય ને તો મારું ગુજરાત ક્યારે પાછું ન પડે.
At the bottom on agriculture.
આપણે ખેતી તરફ ધ્યાન આપીએ.
And then when I came, I focused on agriculture and brought it on top.
ગતિથી વધારવું હોય ને તો ઉત્તમ પ્રકારના રસ્તા જોઈએ, ઉત્તમ પ્રકારની રેલ જોઈએ,
and if you want Gujarat more developed,
જોઈએ,
you need roads, rails,
તો જ વિકાસ માટેનો
airports, transport, connectivity.
અવસર ઊભા થાય. વિકાસ રોકાય નહીં.
That creates opportunities for development.
અને એના માટે આવશ્યક
And then development does not stop, it keeps increasing.
ઉદ્યોગો આવે, પર્યટન આવે, વિકાસ થાય,
Industries come, tourism come,
આજે ગુજરાતમાં
development happens.
દેખાય છે. આપ જુઓ ને સ્ટેચ્યુ ઓફ યુનિટી.
Look at the Statue of Unity.
સ્ટેચ્યુ ઓફ લિબર્ટી પર લોકો જાય છે, એના કરતા વધારે અમારા સરદાર સાહેબના ચરણોમાં વંદન કરવા લોકો આવે.
Now, the number of people who go to the Statue of Unity and pay their respects on the feet of Sardar Patel are more than the people visiting a Statue of Liberty in New York.
નિરાશ ન થઈને જાય,
In
દુઃખી
America.
થઈને ન જાય. એ જો ગામ નક્કી કરે ને તો ટુરિસ્ટો અહીંયા ઢગલા આવવાના ચાલુ થઈ જાય.
If this village here today decides that they have to get tourists,
આ ગામે
then they will start coming.
પહોંચાડવાની અને 24 કલાક વીજળી આપવાની વાત મેં સૌથી પહેલા ઊંઝામાં ચાલુ કરી.
This talk of getting 24-hour electricity in villages, I started first time thinking about it in this same place near Unja. Naran Kaka is sitting here next to me, Naran Lallu.
24 કલાક ઘરમાં વીજળી આપી છે અને એવું અભિયાન ઉપાડ્યું 1000 દિવસ
The project was picked up. And then in 1,000 days, we got 24/7 electricity in villages.
વીજળી નહોતી ગઈ. ત્યાં એમે કહ્યું મારે 1000 દિવસમાં કામ પૂરું કરવું છે અને સાહેબ તમને આનંદ થશે, આ તમારો ગુજરાતનો દીકરો એને 18,000 ગામને વીજળીવાળા કરી દીધા.
Same I replicated in Delhi. And when I told them that it has to be done in 1,000 days,
2007માં
friends, you would be happy that your son from Gujarat could deliver it.
ઉદ્ઘાટન માટે હું લોકાર્પણ માટે અહીંયા ડેડિયાસણ આવ્યો અને ત્યારે મેં કહ્યું તો કે
Prime Minister is recalling his visit in the neighborhood in 2005.
પાણીના જે પ્રયાસો છે એની કિંમત નથી માનતા, એનું મહત્વ નથી માનતા. એમને 15 વર્ષ પછી ખબર પડવા માંડી, જ્યારે ટીવી પર જોવા માંડ્યા ને તો એમને ખબર પડી કે આ પાણી માટે 15 વર્ષ સુધી જે તપ કર્યું છે ને એ અમારા ગુજરાતને લીલુંછમ કરી રહ્યું છે અને મારી
And the efforts that we put in
ચમકી રહ્યા
to bring water,
આ પાણીની
now
તાકાત છે.
it is getting reflected in development, it is getting reflected on the face of people, the way they are glowing.
હું ગુજરાત
The Sujalam Sufalam canal that we made,
એટલો ઓછો છું કે સુજલામ
the entire region,
કેનાલ માટે એક પણ કોર્ટ કચેરીના કાયદા કાનૂનને બંધન
not a single
લોકોએ મને
case happened in the court. People gave their land because they realized the benefits.
બની ગઈ અને જે
And the Sujalam Sufalam canal happened
ઠલવાતું તો
in a jiffy.
ઉત્તર ગુજરાતના ખેતર
And the water that was going waste
ઉત્તર ગુજરાત
is now
ત્રણ પાક
irrigating the fields of North Gujarat.
ત્રણ પાક આજે પાણીથી જોડાયેલી યોજનાઓ
Here are taking 3 crops a year.
એનો મને અવસર મળ્યો. વિસનગર, મારું ગામ વડનગર, અમારો ખેરાલુ તાલુકો, આના મોટા ભાગના લોકોને આના કારણે પાણીની સુવિધા વધવાની છે અને પાણી આવે તો એનો
Water
સીધો
is the big issue.
કુટુંબની
And once it is
તંદુરસ્તી પર
tackled,
થાય, માતાઓ બહેનોની શક્તિનો
health
સદુપયોગ
improves,
થાય, પશુપાલન જેટલું વિકસે
women empowerment happens, cattle rearing happens.
ખેતીને તો ચારે કોને લાભ થાય અને એટલા માટે પશુપાલન અને આપણો મહેસાણા જિલ્લાની તો ઓળખ જ. અને મને હમણાં અશોકભાઈ કહેતા હતા કે અમે 1960 પછી ડેરીમાં
રેકોર્ડ
cattle rearing
નફો કર્યો છે, રેકોર્ડ નફો કર્યો છે.
is big here and record profits are being made, I am being told.
ગુજરાતના પશુપાલકોને અભિનંદન આપું છું કે આપે ડેરી
I congratulate the
સોંપી કે ચવાઈ જતું તે બંધ
cattle
કર્યું
herders of North Gujarat.
તમને નફાના પૈસામાં ભાગીદાર બનાયા ભાઈઓ. આપે તો દિવસો જોયેલા છે
We have seen the days
પાણી ના
when
હોય, ચારો ના હોય,
there was
અકાળ
no
હોય.
water.
આપણે
There was
ઘાસચારો
drought.
હિન્દુસ્તાનના છેડે છેડેથી લાવવો પડતો હતો
There
ટ્રેનો
was famine.
પાણી માટે પશુ ભલખા મારતા હતા
And then you had to get
ભરી ભરીને છપાતું હતું. આજે બધામાં
water
મુક્તિ થયા એટલે
in
20-22
tankers.
વર્ષના છોકરાને ખબર નથી કે ભાઈ કેવી
Now,
મુસીબતમાંથી ગુજરાત
those who are 20, 22 years old do not know the difficulties that the region faced.
માટે આગળ વધવાનું છે. આટલાથી સંતોષ નથી માનવાનો. મારે મન તો આજે થયું છે એના કરતા અનેક ગણું કરવું છે.
But I want to do even more.
વીજળી પહોંચે, પાણી પહોંચે તો
I am not
ઔદ્યોગિક વિકાસ
satisfied with
થાય.
this.
કૃષિ ઉત્પાદનમાં વૃદ્ધિ થાય, દૂધ ઉત્પાદનમાં વૃદ્ધિ થાય અને હવે તો ફૂડ પાર્ક એનું પણ કામ વધી રહ્યું છે. એફપીઓ બની રહ્યા છે,
Food parks are coming.
એનું પણ કામ વધી રહ્યું છે. આપણું મહેસાણા દવા, પ્લાસ્ટિક, સિમેન્ટ, એન્જિનિયરિંગ આ બધા ઉદ્યોગો માટે એક મોટું ઉર્જા કેન્દ્ર બની રહ્યું છે કારણ ખપત વધી છે. આપણું માંડલ બેચરાજી સ્પેશિયલ ઇન્વેસ્ટમેન્ટ એના બાદ તો ઓટોમોબાઈલ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી. જાપાન વાળા ગાડી અહીંયા બનાવે અને અહીંયા બનાવેલી ગાડી જાપાનમાં મંગાવે. બોલો સાહેબ, આનાથી મોટું શું હોય? જાપાનના લોકો
And
અહીંયા
now,
અહીંયા
people from
આવીને
Japan are coming, making cars here in this region, near your village, and taking them back to Japan.
બાળકોનો અને જાપાન
Is it
ગાડી
not
જોઈએ
development?
તો એ ગાડી જાપાન મંગાવે છે વાપરવા માટે.
So now it's Japanese, they need a car, they make it here and then take it back, ship it back.
અને લાખો ગાડીઓ બની રહી છે, લાખો ગાડીઓ. સાયકલ બનાવવાના સાસા હતા દોસ્તો, ગાડીઓ બની રહી છે. અને મારા શબ્દો લખી રાખજો દોસ્તો, મારા શબ્દો લખી રાખજો. જે
Believe me,
ગુજરાતમાં
trust
સાયકલ
me.
નહોતી બનતી ત્યાં ગાડીઓ
Write it
બની,
here.
મેટ્રોના કોચ
That the
બનવા
Gujarat which
માંડ્યા.
did not have
અને એ દિવસ
companies
દૂર
making
રહ્યો.
cycles are now
ઉપર તમે વિમાન
manufacturing.
જુઓ છો
The
ને,
Gujarat is manufacturing
એ
train,
ગુજરાતની
cars,
ધરતી
metros. And these are all happening on the land of Gujarat.
આ સુઝુકીના નાના નાના જે સપ્લાયર છે 100 કરતા વધારે સપ્લાયર નાના
There are 100 plus
બનાવે.
vendor suppliers of spare parts to Suzuki, which is making cars.
ઇલેક્ટ્રિક વેહિકલ પર ગયા વિના છૂટકો નથી. એનું મોટું કામ, હિન્દુસ્તાનનું મોટામાં મોટું કામ આ તમારા મા
In India,
બહેનોના ચરણોમાં
the biggest
થવાનું
work
છે દોસ્તો.
on electric vehicles is happening near your village in Becharaji.
લિથિયમ આયન બનાવવાનો પ્લાન્ટ અમારા હસલપુરમાં અને મારે આ હસનપુર ને બધા વિસ્તારના
In Becharaji, in Hasalpur.
તમને થશે કેમ અત્યારે યાદ આવ્યું? હું તમને એક પ્રસંગ કહું. આ બધા કેટલાક એવા બરબાદી કરવા વાળા વિચારો લેનારા લોકો ગમે તેમ બધું લખે ને બોલે ને આંદોલનો કરે. જ્યારે આપણે સૌજીકોનું બધું લાવવાનું એ નક્કી કર્યું હાસલપુર ને આખા પટ્ટામાં, તો બધા ખેડૂતો આંદોલને ચડ્યા. હવે આપણી અહીંયા જમીન એવી કે 12 મહિનામાં બાજરો પક્કામાં ફેફે પડતી હતી.
Now you have to ask me why I'm saying this today.
તો બધા આંદોલન કર્યું તો બધા ગાંધીનગર આવ્યા. હું મુખ્યમંત્રી હતો.
When I was chief minister,
જિંદાબાદ
when a
મુર્દાબાદ
project was coming,
મોદીના પુતળા બાળવાનું બધું
these people came protesting.
મેં કોઈ એમ
Zindabad,
નહીં,
Murdabad.
બોલાવો બધાને. મેં બધાને
And they
અંદર
were trying to burn my effigy.
અને હું નીચે
I called them
બધાને
inside.
મળ્યો. મેં કોઈ તમારી
I
ફરિયાદ
met them.
પૂછકો ભાઈ, બસ કે અમારે આ નથી જોઈતું ને અમારી જમીન નથી આપી. મેં કોઈ સારું ત્યારે
And
તમારી
they said
ઈચ્છા,
they don't want to give up their
બીજે
land
જઈશું.
for the project.
એમાં કાં 5-7 સમજદાર ઉભા થયા. એ કે ના સાહેબ એવું ના કરતા, એવું ના કરતા, તમે અમારે
Because they
ત્યાં
did not understand.
અને એ જે ખેડૂતો સમજદાર બતાવી આંદોલનો બંધ કર્યા. અને તમે વિચાર કરો આજે ઔદ્યોગિક ક્ષેત્રે આખાએ પટ્ટાનું નામ રોશન થઈ રહ્યું છે. ઠીક મહેસાણા
incident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on the 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IAF Day.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry the 26-year-old.
Last year, we were all geared up.
This network is proof that everything in India is greenfield. Is it time for the Republic Network to do a spectacular intervention in global digital news media or not? It's my passion project. So that is our consecration to making India a superpower.
Now India has a clear goal, Mission Superpower. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena by-polls.
મને સંતોષ છે કે પ્રધાનમંત્રી જન ઔષધિ કેન્દ્રો જેના કારણે સસ્તી દવાઓ અને સસ્તી દવાઓ એટલે જેના ઘરમાં હંમેશા દવા લાવવી પડતી હોય, વડીલો હોય, કંઈ ને કંઈ માંદગી હોય, મહિને 1000 રૂપિયાનું બિલ થતું હોય, અમે આ જન ઔષધિ કેન્દ્રો ખોલ્યા. મારી બધાને વિનંતી છે, દવા ત્યાંથી જ લો. જરાય ઉતરતી કક્ષાની દવા નથી હોતી, ગેરંટેડ દવા હોય છે. જે બિલ 1000નું આવતું હતું આજે 100-200 રૂપિયામાં પતી જાય, તમારા 800 રૂપિયા બચે. એના માટે આ દીકરો કામ કરી રહ્યો છે. તમે એનો લાભ લો. ખૂબ મોટી સંખ્યામાં રોજગાર આપવા વાળા પર્યટનનું સેક્ટર. મેં કહ્યું એમ, હમણાં જો વડનગરમાં જે બધું ખોદકામ થયું, હજારો વર્ષ જૂની ચીજો હાથ લાગી છે.
A row has erupted over the change in name of Tipu Express to the Modera Express, with the change in name re-sparking the debate around the former Mysuru ruler's legacy.
Steady amid recession. Steady amid inflation. Goal is global dominance. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
News from across the country. Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to Gujarat from starting today till the 11th of October, where his visit to Modera today will mark the village as the first solar village of the country.
The world supermarket. World is ours for the taking. Witness the India growth story. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
The Eknath Shinde and Uddhav Thackeray factions have accordingly called for emergency meet in order for the parties to choose the new symbols for the upcoming Shiv Sena bypolls.
No longer on the fence anymore. A new India is empowering a paradigm shift. The mission now is global dominance. Republic Media Network brings you India's biggest economic summit.
Commenting on the ECI decision of barring the use of the symbol, BJP leader Kirit Somaiya has stated that the Uddhav faction had lost everything in connection with the political party, including the faith of the people.
Tragic accident that had taken place in Nashik, that at least 11 passengers as of now have lost their lives.
Fire that has been reported on the 12th floor of ground plus 12th floor residential building in Chembur.
The Air Force is celebrating the 90th IFJ.
A 22-year-old woman was hacked to death in broad daylight by a 26-year-old person at Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. The incident reportedly came about over a refusal by the woman to marry.
ખૂબ આભાર માનનીય પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રી આપનો આપના આત્મીયતા સભર સંબોધન માટે बहुत धन्यवाद करते हैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय का। आज करोड़ों रुपए के ये विकासशील कार्यों
All right, PM Modi there in Modera in Gujarat, where he's on a 3-day visit, and this was a speech he just made right now, where he inaugurated multiple projects there in Modera and talking about development. That was a very big focus that he was speaking about, especially of Modera. He has declared Modera as India's first 24/7 solar-powered village, and he is in Gujarat from today, Sunday to Tuesday, to launch multiple development projects, and he will inaugurate foundation stone of multiple projects there in Modera. So this is what's happening right now, viewers. We're getting you all the updates. PM Modi on a 3-day visit to Gujarat, starting from today all the way to Sunday. He has made a couple of points as well. He has said the people of Gujarat have blessed him for the last 2 decades and made him win elections without looking at anything else, and multiple other things about development of Modera as India's first 24/7 solar-powered village. All right, viewers, a major development in Maharashtra, where back-to-back meetings are lined up. Non-stop reactions are coming in after Election Commission's interim order on late Saturday evening. Uddhav camp held a meeting this afternoon where our top sources told us that 3 symbols and 3 party names were discussed. While on the other hand, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde held a key meeting with the legal team and senior leaders. Another meeting with the MPs and MLAs of Shinde camp is scheduled at 7 p.m. today. Meanwhile, Uddhav Thackeray is all set to brief the state, likely at 6 p.m. So this is the big update that we are getting for you viewers right now. Remember that this has come in after the Election Commission has said that for the upcoming bypoll, they cannot use, both the factions cannot use a bow and arrow symbol, neither can they use the name Shiv Sena. So right now, what we are seeing are back-to-back developments, huddles happening in both the camps, and non-stop reactions coming in after Election Commission's interim order, which had come in yesterday evening. Now, Uddhav camp held a meeting this afternoon where top sources told us that 3 symbols and 3 party names have been discussed there. While on the other hand, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is also holding a team a meeting with his team and the senior leaders. Another meeting with the MPs and MLAs of Shinde camp is scheduled at 7 p.m. today. And we can expect Uddhav Thackeray to later on speak more about what has been discussed. We are expecting a press conference from Uddhav Thackeray around 6 p.m. That is a big story we're tracking here on Republic TV. And let's have a look at all the reactions coming in on this big story that is coming out from Maharashtra.
See, simple thing is that the way the election commission is behaving, it's itself objectionable. I mean, the way they are hurriedly taking the decisions. When you have lakhs of people are to be verified, we have submitted, they have submitted the membership, they have submitted, we too have submitted it. Who has notified it? Who are the notaries? Are they the right person to do that? There are cases, we have heard that there are cases, FIRs against some of the notaries who are known criminals.